Chapter 11. Finally, the main storyline is being recalled. What is my relationship with this unlucky man in front of me? I'm afraid that it is difficult to explain it properly. There was a period of time in the past when we were adventuring companions. After that, for a longer period of time, our relationship is one of a hero and a demon king. Then, for the longest period of time, it was one between a prisoner and a jailer. Now that the jailer says that he is tired, old and reluctant to work, he decides to hand the prison over to the prisoner. What kind of joke is this? Handing over the entire city to a lich like me? I am the demon king who almost destroyed the world. Stop joking. Adam laughs bitterly. I also don't think that it is a good plan. Then, who else do you think I should pass it on to? That's true, who can he pass it on to? Little Red, as a red dragon, is true to the unique traits of her race. Eat, greater than sleep, greater than wake up, greater than play, greater than tired, greater than sleep. If she were to become the city lord, I'm afraid she would have sold it away for gold coins by the next day. What about the last of the three heads, the Saint Margaret? She is smart and knowledgeable, and thus, she should be the forefront candidate. Margaret is no doubt the forefront candidate, but she said she was quitting. Of course she would quit. She spent over 100 years of her youth here and now, not mentioning how that blockhead still remains oblivious. He even intends to die for love after such a long time and shove his responsibility onto others. Margaret is already showing a lot of restraint by not coming here to fix him personally. Looking at the man who have a look of unhappiness on his face, my anger bursts. How did such a good lady like Margaret fall in love with this idiot? Damn it, if only I had a great girl like Margaret in love with me. Hee hee. Adam laughs gleefully, a laugh which makes one want to punch him hard in his face. Bastard, you have already hit me. Alright, actions speak louder than words. Since I am already thinking of it, why should I hesitate? Let me would give this old handsome two black eye circles. Afterwards, the two have got into a messy fight, but 10 seconds later, due to the disadvantages of my job, I was suppressed by his physical strength. As he sits on my spine and starts to pull my thigh bone back, I can only slap the ground and surrender, frustrated. Stop folding it. My bone is about to break, about to break. It broke. You bastard, if only I was still a holy knight. Okay, now speak, are you taking over or not? Not taking over. It was tough for me waiting for my sentence to end to be released, and I still have matters to deal with. Giving me the position of a jailer to keep this prisoner tied up here? What kind of joke is this? Prison, huh? Until now, you still view this city that we built with our blood and sweat as your prison? Can you bear to watch it lose its guardians and become the satellite city of some other underground city lords? Definitely. I was intending to say definitely a prison. Who cares about it or something like that, but while saying it, I hesitated. Do I really think of the city that took me hundreds of years to build with my own hands as a prison that binds and restrains me? I have to say, of my long lifespan, the days in Sulphur Mountain City are one of my happiest. Diverse races cohabiting, no large-scale war for many decades, and the citizens are satisfied with their current life. This unique city is most probably different from any other city on the continent of Ike. This is the city that we built brick by brick. I concede. To let those greedy pigs take ownership of the pearls that we painstakingly created is indeed vexing. Then, what do you want me to do? Don't tell me that you want me to become the city lord. You know that I have things to do, so I don't time the effort to do it. Just give your bottom line. He knows me, and I know him as well. He knows that I cannot accept becoming the city lord. Most probably, the lines that he is spouting out now are prepared by Margaret. By taking a step back, he is actually advancing through by making some things seem more acceptable to me. Hee hee. Your reactions are exactly the same as Margaret mentioned. Since we are all unable to take over as the city lord, then, let's hand it over to the next generation, shall we? Next generation? We are all single, so what is the next generation you speak of? You mean? Yes, Anne, my disciple, your rumored girlfriend, red-haired Anne. She's back. Anne, orphan, age. Probably about 17-18. Don't look at me like this, She is an orphan that Adam adopted. The last time I met her was around 7 to 8 years ago, and liches aren't really sensitive to the passing of time. The fact that I can roughly remember her age after so many years puts me in much better position than the others. As for the thing about being my rumored girlfriend, it is only a joke. Back then, when she was still young, the two of us brothers were complaining about how we don't have girlfriends and kept hurting each other. She said that she pities me and promised to marry me when she grows older. Thus, Lich and his necrophilia girlfriend became a commonly used laughingstock. Stop joking, pass it on to Anne. Are you sure that there will be anything left of Sulphur Mountain City the second day? What kind of person is Anne? Using just one word to describe: rascal. The world's most rascally rascal king. When we first met, I was rubbing some maintenance oil on my bones. It was a high quality good, snake cow oil with a special salt added in it. Just as I was happy over my shining skull. Ha, shoot. A shout from a childlike voice, and the scenery in front of me retreats rapidly. The view in front of me rotates continuously, and only that day did I know even liches can die of giddiness if their head spins too fast. That day, my brain flew out a few miles and a headless skeleton scared countless passerby to death. Finally, I found my brain in a rubbish bin. Even though I no longer had the ability to smell, but that afternoon, I was disgusted by those trash and smelly bugs. Only then did I know that the aged 6N was currently in a craze over the sport we two invented, soccer. Her favorite hobby then was to follow her instincts, which was to give a loud shout and kick anything that is round, regardless whether it is a rubbish, a kitten or puppy on the street. Well, a lich's skull is also round, and the reflection from the shiny head is similar to a white ball. I am not a petty person, so I won't squabble over everything with kids, but it seems that she fell in love with the sensation of kicking everything with a huge force. Those leather balls are made for girls to kick. They burst as soon as I use a bit more strength. But Uncle Bone's skull gives a feeling that is full of magic and is much more interesting than those other useless balls. Kicking it feels extraordinarily satisfactory. After that day, I only feel great resentment towards the innocent smiles of rascals. What is most incredible about it is that, ignoring how her attacks are completely unpredictable, there is actually no malice behind them. The defensive spells I cast on myself mostly activates in response to malice. Thus, the days before I rewrote my defensive spells were really memorable. It turns into a disaster every time I meet her. In those days, I often only hear her signature greeting, "Hi, Uncle Bones." Before the vision before me retreats back swiftly, the heavens and earth rotates 360 degrees around me before accurately entering a hole. My hatred for little rascals also began from that. After that, when rock and roll and rapping were in trend, the rascals heard from some unknown sources that using bones infused with magic makes the best magic drumstick and has the effect of sending the crowds into overdrive. As for the highest grade bone-related magic ingredient, other than the bone dragon, what else can compete with the ultimate undead creature, Lich? Fine, her band Skull Rock eventually managed to stun the entire city, but if it wasn't for that instruments couldn't be considered a member and that the music my Ribbone played was praised as being outstanding, how could I be happy over this incident? When she read from her storybook about an ice castle and frozen mountains, she actually thought about creating an art exhibition with bones as the main topic. We don't have snow here, only sulfur. But a large dosage of sulfur is poisonous. However, we are also well known as the city of undead, so let's use undead as art materials. My artistic cells are burning with passion. When this last left the city and went to bring catastrophe to the outside world, the entire country went into a state of wild joy. The happiest ones are probably the undead of the East District, who were the victims of a large number of her pranks. Dullahan Polo Competition, the King of Skull Dancers Competition, the Sirens. I am a singer. She totally doesn't have any fears that a normal person should have, and the entire East District turned into an undead theme park. TL, I Am a Singer is a super popular show in China. The current undead theme aimed at tourism originated from this idea, and the using undead tourism as a selling point, prop up Sulphur Mountain City's economy plan has already been realized. Don't say it like that. That last Annie may be playful, but isn't it due to her playfulness that closes the distance between the undead and the rest of the population? Don't you feel that being the lord of this city does not require one to be exceptionally powerful, but rather, The ability to view all of the citizens equally. In this aspect, Annie is superior to all other candidates. HMPH, Margaret must have asked you to say that. Hee, this is also my true thoughts. If her popularity wasn't that great, everyone wouldn't have bothered playing along with her. As the new head, it is not sufficient to have a positive external image and be popular among the citizens. There must be arms working in the shadow as well. So, what both Margaret and you want me to do is to give her a hand. It is sufficient to just set her on the right path. It won't take too long. If you feel that she would be unable to do a good job, then you can totally replace her, since there probably isn't a person that can stop you here. Adam laughs gleefully. Furthermore, little Annie is your fiancée. Helping her should be one of your duties. I didn't reply to his words. Initially, I intended to reject him, but a sudden change in the situation disrupted all of my plans. In this instant, a golden interface appears in front of me. Ding! Congratulations for triggering an epic mission, the revival of the Phoenix. Quest objective: investigate and resolve the dangers that Sulphur Mountain City would encounter. Groom Annie. Laid to become a capable leader-like figure before Adam's demise. Quest rewards: Epic Class Discount Voucher. Using this, you can purchase any epic level and below merchandise from the system's merchant at half price, the right to start quests of the main storyline. At least, before leaving your hometown, pass it down to someone reliable. After all, you wouldn't hope to see only rubble when you come back. System: quest failure penalty. Would turning you into skull with a mushroom growing on it be good? Or would a skull growing from a mushroom be better? Both of them aren't good. Then let's make it a mushroom skull growing from a skeleton. In the past, I triggered quite a few of the system's darn sudden quests, but they were often about getting rid of a number of beings and awards some unreliable glory titles. It was the first time it was giving something proper. But in this instant, I was attracted by its rewards, the right to start quests of the main storyline. In that instant, I understood that it was time for the events of that game walkthrough to begin. The so-called main storyline probably refers to what the game players experience in the history, the unwithstandable 7 catastrophe of hell. This was all within expectations, and what really makes one's heart move is the other reward. Discount voucher. If I can purchase my body at half price, doesn't that mean that I can bring forward my revival? But following immediately, another mission pops out. Ding! Congratulations on triggering an epic mission, the return of the Lich King again. Why did I say again? Quest objective: who cares whether it is some evil god or a sinister plot, bow down before the Lich King. Absolute violence may not be able to resolve everything, but at least, it can resolve the protesters. At the shortest time possible, become the city lord. Rebuild the Yongai army and let the living once again taste the fear of an undead calamity. It is time to make the lazy bones of the East District start moving. If they were to continue frolicking about, it might really turn into an undead theme park. They are about to forget the honor as the East Wolves of the Night. Quest rewards: the right to start the storyline for the feudal system and the war for the continent, and a perfect semi-god witch body. Quest failure penalty: to say the truth, for a cunning fox like you whose ability to bring calamities is unparalleled, I can't think of a reason why you would fail the mission. Chapter 12, 4 Halls 1 Court. All along, the options in the system's quest page were in a gray and inactive state, thus I inferred that it would only be activated when the events in the game walkthrough begins. I have been waiting for the main storyline to start for a long time, but I didn't expect it to offer me 2 choices at this point. But after giving it some thought, it was something to be expected. In this world named Ike, which was made of countless dimensions combined together, the species on it are innumerable. This world and its greatest piece of land is named after its creator, Goddess Ike, but somehow, there are no traces of her in this world. It was said that due to exhaustion from creating this world, she fell into a state of eternal sleep. However, before she went to sleep, she left all the responsibilities for the world to her 2 daughters. Goddess Astria, the guardian goddess of order and daybreak, she created the High Elves, Metal Dragon tribes, angels, titans and similar golden races. Goddess Cynthia, the dictator of chaos and night, she created demons, elemental dragons, Yellow tribe, Kama blood tribe, the elemental tribes and other sulfur races. The two goddesses represent the two main factions the gods and countless other races belong to. The elder sister, Astrea, hopes for all races to be bathed under the warm sunlight and believes that each race should be attributed a certain role by the gods and walk the path decided for them. She believes in hierarchy and her creations tend towards order and kindness. As for Cynthia, she hopes that her creation could metamorphose through competition. As the creator, she tries not to interfere excessively and does not enforce her own rules upon her people. For mortals, the difference in beliefs may only be a verbal argument, but for the true gods who are the incarnation of those concepts, a clash in beliefs means questioning the meaning behind the other's existence. Thus both parties would nationally explode into a battle. The two goddesses, equally strong, fought each other to the point of exhaustion and went into a long rest. Their creations then continued their endless war for them. After the Golden Tribes and Sulfur Tribes went extinct due to war, the Moon Elves, representing the Silver Tribe, and the Fallen Giants, representing the Mercury Tribe, continued their battle. The war has never stopped ever since its inception. When the Order managed to suppress the chaos, the onset of a relatively stable order era starts. On the other hand, if the chaos managed to claim superiority, an orderless and chaotic era begins. A change in era represents the rise and fall of countless races. In current times, it is the Iron Era belonging to the Order faction, otherwise known as the Age of the Mortals. The previous dominant species, the Great Demons of the Chaotic faction, gave up their positions and passed the baton to the current dominant species, the Humans of the Iron Tribe. Just to clarify, Great Demons and demons are different beings. Order and chaos fighting and taking over each other's position have always been the main movement of the Outcontinent. My Codex of Law, being recognized by the origin of order, has become a part of it as well. Thus, many other holy knights who belong to the same order faction have come forward to learn it. From my view, there is nothing incredible about it. Within order exists chaos, and even for the leading races of the chaos faction, the devils and undead, the strict power hierarchy and the superior and underling relationship, isn't it also a special kind of order? In my eyes, it is about which side you choose. It is a simple question of deciding whether you want to mingle with the gods of order or the gods or chaos. If I choose to allow Anne to inaugurate as the new city lord, I would have to take on the role of a senior and a teacher. Then, as planned, I would gain a new physical body and start again from scratch. Such a decision is sided towards the Order faction. Meaning, if he chooses this decision, he would become a part of the Order faction. After all, living humans are the backbones of the Order faction no matter how you look at it. On the other hand, if I were to choose to become the city lord myself, the system would restore my powers back to the moment when I was at my peak. However, a semi-god Lich, no matter how you look at it, is a king of the undead, a leader of the Chaos faction. This may look like a normal choosing process, but it is an important choice that would determine the road I walk on from now. Hey, what is there to hesitate about? Walking on the road that I walked on before? I choose Epic Mission, Revival of the Phoenix. I want to come back to life. That's right. My previous experiences have proven that simply brute power won't resolve the problem. The bunch of idiots in the Chaos faction lack order and live as they please. The internal conflicts would never end as long as they live, and they are destined to never accomplish great things. If so, why would I still commit the same mistakes? Besides, without a proper body, a Lich can only reach the level of a semi-god. Yup, it definitely isn't because undead can't taste delicious food, can't date, can't enjoy the pleasures of the physical body. I don't want to be an undead. Fine, let Anne become the city lord. I will give her a hand. Right, her full name is Annie, right? I thought you called her Anne in the past? Anne is, after all, just a nickname. Furthermore, it could be used for both sexes. Margaret helped to come up with it. Actually, I have always thought that Annie.Hahn had a nice ring to it, but somehow she ended up with Margaret's surname. Annie.Lade, huh? Somehow, I felt that this name was somehow familiar. Duh. With a snap of a finger, A large book with black cover opens and the pages flip continuously until it finally stops on a colorful page. That is a picture of a mature woman with a heroic aura looking at the distant with a sword in her hands. Her entire body screams a fiery red. Her scarlet battle robe has an embroidery of a phoenix on it and her vermilion sword generates a field of inferno. It was obvious that it was the blessing of the phoenix that belongs to the idiot in front of me. The fire phoenix of the east, Annie Lade, the great commander of the alliance against demons on the east defense line, the hero who personally killed the dark warrior Emperor Roland. Mist. You teacher and student must have a grudge against me. How deep is your hatred? The student is going to kill me in the future despite me going through so much just to change the future. Furthermore, the father had already killed me once. Am I really going to get chopped the blessing of the phoenix once again? Killing me once wasn't enough and just when I finally changed the future, I am going to be killed once more? No wonder, I thought it was weird how Anne was my nemesis. So, the one which fate chose to get rid of me is you rascal. Don't dream of it. You bunch of bastards, get out. Incantation of law, expel. Unable to suppress the howling in my heart, I used all my power in the spell. After the sacred light of order scatters, somehow, the semi-god Adam got ejected out of the room, confused. Pa. He lands heavily on his butt. Immediately afterwards, a book strikes him squarely on his face. The words on the book had been translated and Adam, who had received secret martial arts manual from Roland in the past, reads out slowly. Sunflower Bible. What is this? To practice this sacred art, direct your knife to castrate? Refer to CHP 3, go and learn this, I think it is suitable for a ball-less person like you. It isn't the first time that the lad got me angry. He is probably used to getting thrown out. After rubbing his bottom, he walks away. After he leaves, I fall into a state of confusion. What is fate? Just what kind of a life did he plan out for me? Am I really destined to become a demon king from birth, and furthermore, a demon king with a tendency for suicide? After grooming Adam into a hero who killed me, do I have to groom another hero who used to kill me? If I didn't come here, Annie wouldn't have met Adam and thus, wouldn't receive Adam's inheritance, the blessing of the phoenix. So, I am the reason for their meeting. Is the crusade against me long decided? Or, am I fated to be hunted down by the wielder of the blessing of the phoenix, whether it is Adam or Annie? A pity that my study of the patterns of cause and effects are a mess and I didn't even try to learn divination. But then, such a deep philosophical question of cause and effect. It would be weird if I can make sense out of it. Forget it, I will stop thinking about it. Since I have already decided on my goal, so let me think about it after finishing my quest. Since this problem can't be resolved by thinking, then I shan't think about it. This has always been one of my strong points. The most important thing now is to finish my current quest and come back to life. Thus, after thinking over it for a moment, I press the bell on my table. Call the head of the 4 halls to come to meet me. Initially, I created the court to judge sinners and earn myself those evil points. Wouldn't I be abandoning to primary objective if I were to tire myself over this? Thus, I built an organization whose system and mechanism allows it to be self-sufficient, thus, allowing me to spare the effort sustaining it on other pursuits. Sulphur Mountain City's judicial system was created by me personally. Following the other world's model of splitting up the authority of the judicial system using the principles of checks and balances, I divided the judicial system into 4 independent blocks. Firstly, it would be the Supreme Court, the dominant block of the judicial system. I am the head of this block, giving me the power to approve the passing of new laws and the final say in the judging of criminals, effectively making me the big boss of the entire judicial system. The 4 subsidiaries under the Supreme Court are the organs and backbone of the entire judicial system. The Hall of Enforcement, responsible for the enforcement of criminals and maintaining order. Yup, it plays the role of the villain, maintaining discipline through patrols, managing those street peddlers and such. All of the troublesome jobs are under them. As for the Town Order Security Army, shortened as Town Security, it is one of their subsidiaries. Different from the security team in the other world whose main targets are street peddlers, the Dark Elf Knights goes at all sort of criminals, making their jobs similar to the responsibilities of a police. Their head would be the tall and buff masked man in front of me, Taran Xueti. Yes, It is that perverted Taransiety who likes to go nude running. Name: Xuet.tdta/race Taran Job LV60 Warrior/LV20 Justice Knight/LV7 Guard of Order, Total LV87, Fighting Power Evaluation, Legend, Second Job Advanced Great Warrior, Title, Guardian of Steel. Fortunately, perhaps it is to imitate the silver-masked Rumians, in order to show that they have given up individualism to deliver the law impartially. My judicial team have all decided to wear masks. Otherwise, I really don't know how to face this despite being the head of the Hall of Enforcement, but lands in jail for soiling social values underling of mine. Luckily, every time he goes to enjoy his hobby, he consciously tries to hide his identity. Even when he is surrounded and bashed up by the town security due to nude running, even when he is thrown into the dark prison, he never used his power of law and exposed his identity as a law enforcer. The second subsidiary would be the rarely seen Hall of Law. Hall of Law, they are a department that specially analyzes the law and the legislation, but at the same time, they are the location for job advancement for law incantationer, justice knights, and judgmenter. The minimum requirement for job advancement into a law job is at least a gold rank. Although it is not well known to outsider, this hall is actually the strongest among the four. But these strong people serve as the rookie judges that are mainly responsible for the primary hearing. Through encountering more cases and judging them, they are refining their understanding towards the power of law. Under my system, only those who earn the recognition of the origin of Codex and succeeded in their job advancement to become a part of the judiciary can have the authority to judge others individually. Thus, not many people know that even the weakest of those seemingly gentle scholars are at least a gold rank. Their leader is an old scholar who is on the verge of sleeping in front of me, the High Elf Kel.Dia, one of the politicians in the country of Wanfa. He is also the strongest mage in Sulphur Mountain City other than the Great Saint. TL, Wanfa means circular magic. Name, Kale.dia/race, High Elf. Job, LV60 Mage/LV30 Guardian of Knowledge/LV10 Guardian of Law/LV5 Law Incantationer, Total LV115, Fighting Power Evaluation, Worldly Saint, Third Job Advanced Mage. Hall of Legislation. Its name may seem awe-inspiring, but once the role of writing new laws and governing it is thrown to the other departments, what it needs to do is mainly doing logistics and help keep the subordinates of other departments in check. For example, for a meeting for the approval of a new law, it would gather the other departments together and help to gather the proposals for the law and such. As a logistics department, the Hall of Legislation doesn't need much strong people. What it needs is the flexibility and attentiveness in getting things done. Thus, a large portion of its members are rookies in probation or female law enforcers who are unwilling to get on the front lines. Their head, Lilith. Milan. Yes, that frenzied wild lily, the moving obscenity. I can't help but feel glad repeatedly that our judicial team have to put on mask and give up their individuality, otherwise I really don't know how to face these two comrades of mine in the Gentleman Alliance and the endless despise from the citizens. I even question myself countless times, where exactly did things go wrong for these two perverts to climb up to become the top brass of the judicial system. Alright, let's not talk about these depressing matters. Last but not least, the Hall of Judgment. It might sound very mighty, but when the responsibility for the primary hearing is left to the Hall of Law and the final verdict is dependent on the Supreme Court, what is left is probably all kinds of appeals. Once the town security finds someone they are unable to deal with, that is when they strike. Responding to complaints, defending the defendant, finding the true culprit and capturing the criminal are part of their job scope. This is the kind of troublesome job that gets on people's nerves. And somehow their nerves are especially easy to get on. So, the hall is also known as the Hall of Quarreling and Hall of Fighting. One thing worth mentioning is that the Sulphur Mountain City's prison is under their jurisdiction, and before the town security was built up, they are the only fighting power of the judicial system on the surface, and of course, if we were to measure their internal battle power, they can be safely said to be the second from the back, just slightly stronger than the Hall of Legislation, which is in charge of logistics. Their head, Kelvin, is an ideal role model for holy knights. Middle class power, a stable personality and average looks. What is unique about him is how ordinary he is, his strength is how ordinary he is, and his weakness is still how ordinary he is, but in the judicial system's top brass, he is the rare to come by normal person. I don't know why, at this point, sadness seems to well up. Why don't I have more normal people in the midst of my judicial system? Why do I have so much perverts? Is it because I am a pervert myself? Cough cough. Back to the topic. This 4 halls and 1 court became the outline of the entire Sulphur Mountain City's judicial system. It also serves as the cornerstone to its stability. Once everything is put in place, what I have to do every day is to go to court and earn some points. Since I have decided to help Annie to become the next city lord and stabilize her position, then the 4 halls and 1 court under my possession must start moving. The reason why I gathered you all today is to prepare for the future. Chapter 13, Council Meeting. Today, at 8:61, the 97th Sulphur Mountain City's Judiciary Elders meeting was held punctually at the Supreme Court. The meeting was organized by the head of the Supreme Court Wumians. During the meeting, a review of the main problems of the legal system was held and the matters to be discussed at the meeting are as follow. The meeting will ensure that the entire Bureau and its personnel will study seriously from City Lord Adam regarding Sulphur Mountain City's 4 main drives and earnestly fulfill their responsibilities as a part of our legal system, obey the law and follow the regulations provided while carrying out their job. At the end of the meeting, the old role model of the judicial system, our most respected elder judge, Lord Wumians, made an important declaration, requesting for all government organizations and personnel to follow the spirit of respecting one's superior and unite under its core, any. Late as the next generation of Sulphur Mountain City. They are not to waver, not to hesitate, focus on just one core, 2 points. Alright, I will stop with the bullshit. Other than the last sentence, which is to make Annie the boss, the rest of it are lies. Don't say that I'm trying to dictate everything, I am here to request for everyone's opinion. I shall tell you all a big news, don't spread it to the public just for now. In the future, Annie, yup, Margaret and Annie's precious secret daughter, is the future big boss of Sulphur Mountain City. It is good that none of you all have many objections. If you all have objections, of course I would humbly accept your opinions. Yup. Only accepting. I verbally attacked the 2 fools without holding back. I thought that by landing this bomb, they would be shocked, but unexpectedly, the 4 great heavenly kings seated below me were strangely silent. They looked at each other for a long time. You look at me, I look at you, and eventually, everyone's eyes were fixated on the honest Calvin. Only then did he buckham his courage and stood up. Lord, don't tell me that you were only just informed of it. Half a month ago, the entire city was already aware of it. I thought you were gathering us to prepare to usurp authority. What? Thus, I was at a loss for words. After that, I spent half a day before getting a clear picture of what happened. From the start, Margaret already guessed that I would not grab the baton, and after a discussion with Adam, they internally decided on Annie. Initially, they wanted to hold a quick swap of power before the crowds could even react. But that blabbermouth Adam blabbered the matter in public. Thus, it didn't take long for the entire city to learn of such breaking news. Who is Annie? If the incumbent city lord decides to step down, there is still the public council head Grant, Wumians of the judicial system, head of internal affairs Margaret, and much more suitable candidates out there. What exactly are they thinking? Are the other guardians of the city also leaving too? Then, who is going to protect Sulphur Mountain City? To the normal folks, they aren't worried about who is coming to power. Or rather, they are more bothered with whether the price of vegetables would go up and whether the price of housing in the central of the city would come down. Yup, what they are truly concerned about was never a political switch or an influential figure coming into power. Rather, they are worried about whether their lives would change and whether tomorrow would still be full of hope. One of the 3 heads Adam have decided to shirk responsibility as the guardian of Sulphur Mountain City. Yet, the one taking over is an inconspicuous little lass. If so, can she take hold of the situation? Will the other underground lords take this opportunity to make a move? Will the other influential figures in the city listen to her commands? This may seem unrelated to the daily life they are worried about, but if an upheaval ripples throughout the city, or even worse, a war occurs, then the comparatively luxurious daily life that they had against other cities would stop at that moment. These days, the politically aware citizens are feeling an inexplicable weight above their heads, A pressure signaling the arrival of the storm makes the air heavy and suffocating. That idiot. I grind my teeth. If I heard this news yesterday, seeing Margaret and Adam working their ass off might make me call for a celebration. But now that I have accepted the quest, then the idiot's actions became a great source of trouble for me. Doing a rough estimation, I can almost see how everything is a mess out there. No matter where it is, the ambitious and violent are never lacking. In the past, the three heads were able to suppress the situation, but now that Adam was giving up his place, there would surely be some that tries to make a place for themselves. Lying on the chair, countless evil plans run through my mind while my fingers habitually knocks on the table. There should be some people standing out by now. Those objecting and those in approval. The Hall of Legislators is also the intelligence department of the system. When I asked, Lilith immediately replies, a large portion of the government organizations and their leaders have expressed their ideas. At least, on the surface, most of them are in approval of Annie taking over as the city lord. But, there are still two influential figures that have yet to make a statement. Everyone are making guesses on whether they have other plans. Who? Public Council Head Grant. Him, huh? What a fool. Once an ambition exceeds the scope of your own power, you are just seeking your death. However, at least in name, the Public Council is an organization that represents the will of the public. If they adamantly reject Annie, that would be quite a trouble as well. As for why I say in name, actually, there is some history behind it. After Sulphur Mountain City was established, in order to resolve the disputes between races whose relations are getting more and more tense through the days, Margaret followed the example of the Kingdom of Elves on the surface and created a public council which provides a platform for the representative of different races to talk it over. In the start, it managed to achieve some success, but eventually, it caused more troubles than the problems it resolves. First Council is exclusive to the heads and elders of different races. They have high social standing among their brethren, and when they become the spokesperson for their people, they would strive to get more benefits for their people. However, there is limited cake to go around, and when a few stronger races form an alliance, the living space and resources for the smaller tribes are eaten up, and gradually, following the formation of circles and cliques, as the interests of different races start to tangle up, the council started getting more and more powerful. Once the proposal to build a human-only district, dwarf-only district was brought up, seeing how these proud big figures fought passionately for their own interests and how their backing can no longer be disregarded, the wise great saint finally tasted the feeling of carrying a boulder but crushing your own foot, trying to achieve something but end up making things worse. Thus, she turned to the devil. Yup, that is me. Using my experience from both worlds, I sent her what was known as the answer of the devil. At that time, there were people going to street every day as different organizations organized rallies and protests, as though as the rights of the people was above everything else, that the will of the people must be fulfilled. The evil dictator would be defeated tomorrow and the public council would become the new governor. In reality, this has turned into an oppression of the majority against the minority. Seeing this situation, I know that if we dissolve the council, violence would probably ensue, then our efforts for the past several decades would go to vain. Thus, I thought of a plan. Didn't you all request for more power for the council? Fine, I shall agree to it. In fact, I'm afraid you all might not have enough personnel, so I shall allow you all to expand the number of seats on the council to recruit more council members. At that time, the serving council head Old Bard was delighted. In fact, they marked that day as the council's victory day, but now, it was known as the Foolish Day. The initial council is limited to 30 people, and only people from large race or tribes can be elected to join the council. How can this be? The council is the representation of every citizen. 30 people isn't enough. Even smaller race and tribes should have their own council member. Let's just increase the member count. Thus, I increased the number of council members to tenfold of what it was in one go, 300 people. That day, they celebrated. After all, in their hearts, the more council members there are, the greater the voice of the populace. However, they met with problems the next instant. The number of council members have been expanded by tenfold in one go, then where should the rest of the council member be recruited from? The next moment, what kobold merchant, the second son-in-law of the dwarves elder, the brother of the goblins tribe leader, All of them want to become a council member to enjoy the authority. Approved. Everyone is a representation of the will of the people. Why would I stop you all? All of the list of council members that were sent to me were approved. Thus, the number of council members increased, but even so, I still maintain the stand that it wasn't enough. Let's add another 100 seats this festival. You all can decide among yourselves. Don't keep all the seats to those strong ones. You all took all the meat, but you all should also leave some soup to the rest of the people. Give a chance to those engineers, normal citizens, teachers and scholars to join in on the governance. At this point in time, the number of council members increased rapidly and there are people who felt that something was amiss. But even so, everyone was busy grabbing hold of the council member slots. Whoever tries to block the expansion of the council becomes the enemy of everyone. HMPH, you Darkins only have this amount of people. Of course you all wouldn't want the other races to increase their number of council members. HMPH, self-interested lizards. Fine, let's not increase the number of seats of the public council. Then, you darn sharp charcoalers, give up your seats to us, the son of Earth. Alright, let's ignore this boring process and go right to the conclusion. Despite having just a population of 3 million, we have 10,000 council members. Alright, can you imagine the situation of having more than 10,000 people squeezing into a small room and holding a meeting? Can you imagine how long will it take for a single suggestion to pass through, given how 9,000 people have to sign an agreement of it? Can you imagine how a day is wasted for the entire council to arrive? Alright. Due to overcrowding and low efficiency, when they need an entire month to complete the most basic of council discussions, the current public council is as good as just decorations. Of course, they also have tried to reduce the size of the council, but taking back the authority they gave is simply too difficult. Everyone is a representative for the public. So exactly who are you going to expel? What rights do you have to expel me? Aren't all council members of equal standing? Why must it be me who leaves and not you? The identity of a council member can be directly linked to interests, and behind them are the support of merchants. You try to kick someone out and that someone will go all out with you. Hey, the council needs more representative on the basic level. I think there should be a representative on the most basic level to give their own say. When there is a large surge of housewives and fishmongers in the council members, and when the identity as a council member becomes nothing, what plotting to usurp authority and fighting for the interests of one's family and tribe, all of it just became a laughingstock. Now, a large portion of the council members are just dealing with small problems like whether a tax should be imposed on the products that fishermen brings here, and even so, they would all fiery arguing on it. Those leaders of great family often end up with a face full of spit from the arguments of the peasants, and sometimes, they even resort to violence. As for important meetings on the developments of the city, from half a year ago, before the meeting has even concluded, the other government organizations have already started on their work. What for you all to conclude your meeting? I'm sorry, if we don't deal with it soon, the harvest is going to go bad / that city wall is going to fall / the other city is going to declare war against us. To add on, if they want to rewrite the constitution for the public council, they must seek approval for a legal organization, and the right of change the legislation lies on the Supreme Court, which is under my control. Let the council continue their quarreling and arguments. There are times which I bring my tidbits and companions to the council meeting to watch them dash it out. To hear the opinions of the public. I admit, the public council that embodies the will of the public is amazing, but the current council can no longer achieve anything. 90% of their efforts and time are wasted in endless internal strife. The voice of influential figures? I'm sorry, but everyone was voted up as a representative of the public. Everyone's the same, there are no influential figure here. Thus, the ambitious and those seeking authority are buried in the endless sea of people. It is not like there isn't smart people, but the system of councils is a new thing in this world. While I am used to these systems, it was already too late and impossible to go back when they realized that there is something wrong with it. Increasing the number of seats on the public council and giving the council more say, isn't that your public's will? Why, you decided to go against the public's will now. How are you going to explain this to the public who elected you? Well, they are only grind their teeth until they chip off and swallow it. At this point in time, Only those who are dumb beyond the point of saving won't know that they have been had by me. Thus, I became known to them as the cunning Woomians, the devil-like masked man. Of course, those council members, council heads and the powers backing them have never had good relations. Grant's objections are within expectation. He is as ambitious as his father Bart, but such a pity, at least his father still has a few shreds of intelligence while he is dumb like a pig. Does he really not know that once Adam and Margaret made up their minds, there is no one in Sulphur Mountain City that can stop them? A fool that does not know his limits. He really thinks that just because a tiger doesn't hunt humans for 3 years it would become herbivorous? HMPH, what about the other dumb fool who haven't made a stand yet? Suddenly, Lilith, who was just talking big, went mute. The entire room was silent and all eyes once again shot towards Calvin. This time, the honest and timid Justice Knight's both eyes looked up, pretending as though he doesn't exist. After a long period of time, after I realized that I have said something stupid, Lilith gave a face of resignation, bucks up her courage and finally talks. It's you. That's why we thought you wanted us to prepare to usurp authority. At this point, I was speechless. Elisa, why didn't you tell me? Or perhaps, it is time to reduce the budget of the intelligence team. Following the rule that a 4th Heavenly King must have a secret 5th personnel, my 5th Heavenly King is the eavesdropper in charge of the intelligence department, Elisa. From our spiritual connection, I hear the reply of my head maid. I'm really apologetic. The day that the rumors broke out, you were detained by the town security. It wasn't a good time for me to infiltrate and to send reports to you. Thus, I left the report on your work desk. You didn't see it? Remembering how I haven't went to work for a long time and looking at how the steady work desk made of willow wood was on the verge of breaking by the mountain of documents, I solemnly cut off the connection with that foul-mouthed maid. Even though we were far away and at her words and filled with respect and surprise, I can already picture the sight of her gleeful expression, a blank expression but her back bent from laughter. Closing my eyes, I sink into my chair and fall into deep thoughts. There's no need to think about the past, what is important is the future. The public council may be unable to work up a storm, but if those complicated big families were to object together, that can cause quite a trouble. To fight those old fellows, just violence isn't enough. That is also the reason why Adam would entrust this task to me. A marvelous idea flashes through my mind, but of course, calling it a sinister plot doesn't make much difference. Gradually, a perfect plan is taking shape. All right, listen to my proposal. After I gleefully finished describing my plan, they were stunned. This, Lord, wouldn't that be going too far? Lord Woomians, although this may not be breaking the way, it goes against common sense. It goes against morals. This old man disagrees. This idea is too crazy. If the outside world were to find out, our 4 halls 1 court will have its reputation falling to the abyss. I think that it is interesting. Boss, just go ahead. Whatever you want me to do, I will accomplish it. Looking at the 4 heavenly kings of the legal system who are creating a ruckus, I laughed gleefully. Hee, as a special gift before my departure, let's make it a big one. Chapter 14, Dragon Slaying Blade. That is a black-colored blade. The blade, which is as thick as the smallest finger, is filled with black rust and there is not a sliver of reflection of light from it. Rather than a weapon, it seems more like a rusty knife used for cutting vegetables. However, looking at the rust, it is already an unusable lump of metal. But I know that this is only an illusion a god equipment creates. As seen from how I accidentally split apart the frame of my bed and my pinky finger, the sharpness of this blade is unfathomable. Otherworldly god weapon, dragon slaying blade? In my system, it implies that this blade is a well-known dragon slaying god equipment, but it was a pity that what follows it was just a short explanation. It was created by the otherworldly precious material, 9 heavens dark metal. It is exceptionally sharp. That's it. Just like that. Yes, it is that simple an explanation. Even a normal fruit knife would at least have attack power, 0 to 1 durability, 1 sharpness against fruits +1 kind of effect explanation. Yet this obviously extraordinary otherworldly god equipment had such a simple description. In reality, The otherworldly god equipment that I obtained through the system's lottery system have the same kind of problem. As they aren't an existing item in this world, the laws of the world are unable to analyze them, and thus, my system naturally is unable to do anything to them. If it cannot be analyzed, it cannot be used. Then, no matter what kind of glorious history of past they have, if I am unable to call out their true name, it can only probably serve as a slightly bigger fruit knife. Then, it is just plain useless. Initially, these otherworldly god weapons are just a bunch of large toys that waste my storage space, but a fortunate accident provided me a secret method to make known its real form. Law of incantation, obligatory enforcement. As the gavel strikes down, two silver-colored light encircles me and Elisa, and a sigil of a scale representing fairness appears in the sky, which represents the establishment of the contract between the two of us. Following which, the scale began to tilt towards one side. This represents me owing Elisa quite a bit of her wages. Incantation of law, obligatory enforcement? Effect. Forcefully enforces the terms of the contract made by both parties? Shylock, praise the noble freedom of contracts. Foolish Antonio, now that you have broken your promise, then following what we agreed on, I shall cut away an entire pound of meat from your body as punishment. Merchants of Venice. This incantation of law is used to enforce a contract. If one party owes the other something but haven't paid it back yet, it will forcefully carry out the contract and takes away the possession of the other party to repay the debt. As I owe Elisa quite a bit, all sorts of different items automatically flew from my body to her, thus becoming her possessions. Of course, this includes this unnamed treasured blade. But in this instant, a problem occurs. My incantation of law is a power that walks the closest to the origin of order. The effects of the spell may seem simple, but in fact, it is almost the level of the rules of the world, a legend rank great magic. The value of the bones on my body can be determined by the both of us, and the origin of order can also come up with a value. But, how much this blade is worth is an unknown figure. Mages have their own identification magic, but that is only based on the records of the origin of order, so they are actually just identifying what is known to this world. But, otherworldly items are innominate. Thus, this spell is stuck. The silver energy of order envelops the treasured blade and tries to analyze its value, but the otherworldly blade, as though a stubborn rock, isn't showing its true form. Unable to read its history, and its materials aren't able to be analyzed. I can almost hear the moaning of the origin of order. As expected, no matter how high tier something is, what the origin of countless matter, the nemesis of the chaos, the incarnation of the goddess of order, energy is still energy. It can be fooled and made use of. The origin of order is the commonly recognized origin of power of the order faction, and also the superior concept of the holy light, as well as the superior concept my power of law. The people of this world sung countless praises of it, as though as it was incomparably sacred, but as the creator of the power of law, although I am using the origin of order, I could only see it as a brainless power storage. As it fulfills the rules of order, anyone is able to harness it. Such lack of chastity, and you still can it isn't brainless. Rather than saying it is noble, why not say it is dumb? Then, if I were to grant a demon that believes in chaos the physical body of a human, then isn't that demon able to harness holy light as well? Giving your own power to one's nemesis, you still dare to say it isn't brainless? This is one of my debate with the Archbishop of the Holy Light. When the other party mentioned that as long as one believes in holy light, anyone is able to harness the mystical powers of holy light, that is how I replied him. Well, the ending. It is just like talking to a devoted believer. The historical materialism of Karl Marx. The old Archbishop couldn't catch his breath and almost went directly to heaven to continue the worship of his holy light. The origin of order may be brainless, but as the ultimate origin of energy that built this world, it is exceptionally strong, and soon, that thick blade began to look sharper, and light reflected of it as its shape changed. The power of order rejects all chaos and what is unknown as chaos. Since its original properties cannot be analyzed, then let's just grant it new properties. Thus, the noble power of order became my coolie and started to help me convert the weapon into a god equipment that fulfills the rules of this world. Very soon, when the light of order scatters, the solid wood chopping blade disappears, and instead, A gigantic silver saber tattooed with a dragon appears in front of me. God weapon, dragon saber? Attack power, 0 to 35 tier, epic? Special ability the unyielding saber, 100% chance of directly destroying a weapon below elite tier. 50% chance of directly destroying an elite tier weapon. 30% chance of directly destroying an epic tier weapon. 1% chance of destroying any weapon below God tier. Special ability the life robbing radiance? Yes, it is not sight robbing radiance but life robbing radiance. Owning this sword, you will become the main character in everyone's eyes. Yup, the main character of a tragedy. The owner of this weapon will have his luck reduced by 10. Charm increased by 10. If the owner is a golden-haired and golden-eyed man, an additional penalty of 10 luck will be imposed. Special ability frenzy, 1% chance of falling into a frenzied state that recognizes no kin. In this state, you will first target and kill your own kin. There are some yellow inscriptions on the hilt of the saber, in an ancient mandala. This used to be godly weapon that symbolizes status, the pinnacle of the world, the saber that slays the dragon. But now, there is a brand new interpretation. The saber that slays the dragon, like and get one free. Looking at these figures, I was stunned. In Ike, the different tiers of weapons are broadly known to be normal, superior, elite, epic then legend. Back then, Adam's god weapon the blessing of the phoenix is a legend tier weapon and above that would be the semi-god tier and god tier weapons that no man can create. In reality, the difference between the weapons aren't too great as weapons are highly dependent on their users to exert to their full potential. The main difference between a high tier weapon and a low tier weapon is its special abilities. Elite tier normally have 2 special abilities, epic tier 3 to 4 while for legend, it could have between 4 to 6. This epic tier weapon has 3 special abilities, of which, 2 of them are negative special abilities. While it cannot be compared to the Blessing of the Phoenix which has 5 positive special abilities, its only positive special ability is exceptionally strong. Special ability the Unyielding Saber, 100% chance of directly destroying a weapon below elite tier. 50% chance of directly destroying an elite tier weapon. 30% chance of directly destroying an epic tier weapon. 1% chance of destroying any weapon below God tier. Normally, for a golden ranked expert to possess an elite tier weapon is already quite an accomplishment. Epic tier weapons, just as its name suggests, it is the weapons once wielded by masters who left a trace in history, and even an epic tier weapon would probably be destroyed by this dragon saber within 3 strikes. That is to say, if it is a normal weapon, basically it would be broken in 1 or 2 slashes and in a heated fight, if the weapon suddenly breaks. Just thinking about it makes shiver goes down one's spine. So this is the result of the origin of order converting the exceptional sharpness of this sword to fit in with the rules of this world, huh? I didn't expect that I would unexpectedly pick up a treasure. Although its attack power isn't too stable and its negative effects are troublesome to deal with, just this weapon breaking special ability is enough to destroy just any opponent. It comes in a duo set and its other part is also a weapon, Heaven Sword. The gray color set attribute bonus hasn't been activated yet, but just the name, Heaven Sword, makes one's heart tremble. Looks like I must try more of that otherworldly god weapon lottery system. Boom. Boom. Just when I was delighted over the new god weapon that I obtained, a consecutive explosion made the entire house shake. Intruder? Dash 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 dash. Alright, so the entire episode is centered around a Chinese show, the Heaven Sword and Dragon Saber, which is some kind of god weapon and a status of prestige in the show. The Dragon Saber was wielded by Zixun, known as the Golden Hair Lion King. His family was killed by a man named Chang Kun, and in his fury, he went on a rampage, killing many people and blaming it on Chang Kun. He was blinded by a daughter-like figure. She threw a dart in self-defense when he went on an insanity rampage. And if you haven't guessed it yet, he is golden-haired and golden-eyed. Ray Translation Quality Chapter 15, a game with the intruders. Never proactively invade a mage tower with an owner, and even more so, don't underestimate the moral boundary of a mage. Unless you hope to end up like me, 12 consecutive traps. Aren't you afraid of triggering it yourself? Indeed, all mages are madmen, great adventurer cues. From a certain sense, This saying has become an iron law among adventurers, especially when this adventurer is well known in the circle for being carefree and his skill in escaping. In an exploration of a flying castle in an alternate dimension, he was dissected into 13 pieces by a great warlock's consecutive traps. The saying that he used his life to emphasize made the saying additionally convincing. For a species like mages, they often view the pursuit of truth and knowledge as the goal of their life, and their living quarters and their mage tower are their research center and their treasure trove. Therefore, when the fruits of their research and their lives are being threatened, their moral bottom limit and chastity is exceptionally low. Their living quarters and research labs are filled with all kinds of traps and mechanisms, magic traps that even master thieves can't do anything about. For example, opening a door may very possibly result in you being transported into another world. A legend rank mage's living quarters and mage tower's threat isn't lower than infiltrating the den of a dragon, and even the weakest lich are at least a legend. Thus, I am extremely curious exactly what kind of people will directly attack the living quarters of a lich, especially while he is obviously at home. Elisa? There are two teams of intruders, one of them attacking head-on while the other is climbing the wall at the back. Judging from their skills and their weapons, it should be the Dark Elves, 7 silver rank and 3 gold rank. Quite a powerful group, I must say. Elisa reports as I expected, but this wasn't the answer I was looking for. Why are there explosions? Didn't I tell you to just set up some safe and quiet alarms on the outer perimeter? Such a loud explosion at night will draw the town security in soon. Following the town security guidelines, Women's 6th edition, after hearing the explosions, they will form a small team to scout the scene within 5 minutes. Furthermore, my living quarters is in the central area of Sulphur Mountain City, not too far from the Supreme Court. I reckon at minimum, they will be here in 10 minutes. They would definitely take this opportunity to conduct a raid against us. If that's the case, then wouldn't those forbidden goods in my basement be discovered? The town security only have the authority to enforce the law on the crime scene. To enter other people's home to conduct an arrest, they would require a search warrant from their superiors. The superior of the town security is the Hall of Enforcement, and the superior of the Hall of Enforcement is the Supreme Court. There is no reason I would sign a search warrant to allow the town security to raid my house. That's right, from the start, I was never worried about them intruding. I am similar to those corrupt officials and illegal merchants in the sense that when their illegal goods get robbed, they do not dare to report the case. If the town security were to use this opportunity to raid my quarters, I'm afraid that I might be thrown directly to Sulphur Mountain City's jail. Despite hearing my complaints, Elise maintains her poker face. Yeah, you said that you want a safe anti-burglary system, right? Just like what you requested. What I set up on the outer perimeter is just some engineer-made alarm robots only. Then why are there explosions? Following which, after taking into account the heavily emphasized safe, realization struck me. From safe? It can't be that you are talking about the safe brand Goblin Machinery on Gold Coin Street? The one opened by the Bar Brothers? I definitely would know that store. That safe brand Goblin Machinery, due to selling fakes and explosives, was stripped of its license, and it should still be operating without one now. Of course, the name of the store is a hoax and there are people who bought the wrong safe goblin goods, but after a few incidents, there is no reason why anyone would buy from their store. This brand also became a negative example. Of course, I thought that you were asking me to help take care of your brothers and thus, specially requesting me to purchase from them? They are not my brothers. What use are their goods other than exploding? I must have gone mad if I asked you grace their shop. I'm sorry, looks like I misunderstood your words. She apologized sincerely, but seeing how the edges of her lips were slightly arched upwards, I knew that this introvert half-demon is definitely laughing inside. She must have done it on purpose. Fine, I admit my loss. You really went through all the efforts just to torture me. As long as you pay me all my wages, I guarantee you that your life from now on will be a breeze. HMPH, dream on. Don't you think that I wouldn't know the pattern of you demons? Paying your wages means the end of the contract. You want to regain your freedom? Continue dreaming. While we were chattering idly, the two teams closed in on us, but I paid them no attention. Have you found the identity of the intruders yet? If you haven't done so yet, I'm going to cut your pay. HMPH. Don't think that I don't know that you were secretly eating into the household expenses, using it to buy your personal items. Despite being advanced in age, you still like those light flowy clothes. Ho ho, a steel-faced spinster with a ballet tutu. Do you need me to give you an allowance to buy a doll? I couldn't continue on with my sarcastic words as the seemingly tangible black mist of anger kept on reminding me that I will meet with bad luck within the next few days. For example, my diary might be blown away by a strong wind while writing on it, my energy source turning into dog food, the oil I use for clean and maintain my bones turn into natural asphalt, half of the town's security falling from the sky towards me when I am doing my thinking about all these. An inexplicable feeling of sorrow overwhelms me. Exactly who is the master and who is the servant? Should I really start considering to pay her all of her wages to get rid of her? Boom. Another gigantic explosion interrupts my train of thoughts. What is that? Landmines? You bought that thing and planted it in the flower garden. I made use of this opportunity to be difficult. HMPH. Disobeying orders and breaking our contract. I shall make use of this opportunity to cut 10 years of her wages. That location, it should be where my fully automated Goblin Sprinkler T130 is. Boom. Here too? The lawnmower? No, it should be the entrance, the doorbell. Loud cun. The young lady tilts her head innocently. Indeed, loud enough. Fortunately I never had the habit of pressing my doorbell. No, that isn't right. For even the doorbell to be of safe brand, you intend to kill me and steal my wealth? Boom. Boom. This time, it is a consecutive explosion. I know that the flooring of my entrance probably needs to be changed now. No, judging from the intensity of the explosion, my quarters probably need a new entrance now. This is my shoe rack? Elise nods her head bitterly. Safe Brand's fully automated shoe rack model XT137. It is said to be able to automatically help its owner choose his shoes, brush it and polish it. I can't help but feel glad for being a lich and float while moving from place to place, thus never finding the need for shoes. But after that, I felt that something was wrong. That can't be right. I have no shoes, so why did you buy a shoe rack for? My lord, it was my negligence. A negligence in a murder plot? You are really getting better and better at playing with words. That's all thanks to your effective teaching. My evil points went up again. Looks like another one died. Let's just hope that if the intruders would still be alive. At least, I can bring them to the experimental lab to try out the new magic traps I came up with. Arunide is the second daughter of the noble third family from Morseblight City. The fact that she became a gold rank Lorsi priestess under 200 years old symbolizes that she has the favor of the mother of spiders. As the next rising star of Morseblight City, she is used to looking down on others. This time, she was under orders by her family to bring a team to Sulphur Mountain City to accomplish a diplomatic task. After much consideration and investigation to ensure that it isn't some ploy from other female priests to usurp her position, she received the mission, elated. Stupid and dirty two-legged bugs, how dare you inferior males reject the kind will of the Spider Queen? I see, you all don't even have the qualifications to serve as slaves. Then, burn in the fiery inferno of the abyss while regretting your decisions. Even as a diplomatic ambassador, she, just like most of her other brethren, looked down on all other species that aren't female dark elves. Due to that, from the very start, there wasn't a possibility for the diplomatic talks to succeed. But, as dark elves, their motives here naturally include spying, and their true mission has only just begun. All of you, go and carry out the mission granted by the Spider Queen. Assassinate all of the people whose names are on the list if possible. Or else, just collect information on them for the time being. That's why these days, the town security army received complaints from their dark elf mates moving suspiciously in the city, putting them in a hard position to make a move. That bunch of bitches wearing those laughable uniforms and worship the holy light. Just looking at the dumbasses who betrayed the Spider Queen makes me sick. If I am able to find an opportunity to kill them, the mother of spiders would definitely send down more rewards. But to Arunide, carrying out her family's mission as a spy was only a bonus. Her true goal was to convert the team attached to her into her devoted subordinates that would give up their lives for her interests. But before she was able to find trouble with the misfits among her brethren who worship holy light, One of her accomplices from Chrome City was unexpectedly captured. Useless males, the way he died is too pathetic, too weak. But it would be troublesome if he talks. If Sulphur Mountain City were to get a hold against us, our diplomatic team from Morseblight might be expelled from the city. Not mentioning how embarrassing it is, if we fail the reconnaissance and assassination mission coupled with our secrets getting revealed. Remembering the harsh torture her family dealt towards failures and the punishments the Spider Queen imposes upon weaklings, turning into a half-human half-spider freak or so, Surmise can't help but shiver in fear. Fortunately, the wise Spider Queen still favors her, and the mark left on the mail indicates that he was taken away from the impregnable Fire Mountain prison and brought to this weird house. Despite hearing that it was the living quarters of a Lich, she didn't back away. Just another foolish man. Are you all virgins who haven't enjoyed the service of those handsome mages in the family before? To actually read a mage? Even if he is a legend rank mage, but what about it? We, Dark Elves, are the natural nemesis of mages. We have 2 shadow dancers and a priest of the Spider Queen, we can down him in an instant. But in this moment, she no longer possesses the calmness and confidence she had then. Explosions. Explosions. Explosions everywhere. The doorbell explodes, the doormat explodes, and even a small pebble by the road explodes as well. Exactly what kind of place did we come to? The body of the gold rank shadow dancer, who is equal to her in fighting prowess, lies on the icy cold floor. A hole has been opened in her head, her skull cap had been blown away and blood and brain matter flowed endlessly from within. Her cause of death: the powerful blood of Haxanti actually died to an exploding coat track. Would anyone be able to believe it? How am I to explain to my family that I lost our strongest assassin? In less than 3 minutes, only 3 people remains of our 2 teams, and we haven't even met our target yet. The surviving no longer dared to proceed on, and after the retreating Haxanti died to an exploding cost track, they don't even dare to retreat anymore. They huddle together, wary of the surroundings. But very soon, they no longer have to worry. That is because in front of them, a floating figure appears from the dark night. The silver-colored ice magic and black-colored death magic hovers around the skeleton. In the eyes, a purple-color soul fire burns wildly, and the icy cold voice formed by the reverberation of magic brings one despair. Nice to meet you, Test Subject 17893. Test Subject 17894 and Test Subject 17895. Welcome to my research lab. Please do remember your assigned numbers. From today on, that will be your new names. Here, will be your home until your deaths. I hope that I can make you feel the warmth of home. The voice created by a Lich's magic was gender ambiguous and has no trace of emotion within it. It was as though it was just announcing a known fact. The eyes that it looks at towards yourself, there was no lust towards males or jealousy or females. If there was anything, it was only the interest towards the construct of one's body. Somehow, looking at the ghost fire burning in its cold eyes, Irunide remembered the warning of her grandmother who doted on her. In the view of the world, we, Dark Elves, are evil, dangerous and crazy. But, in the face of true evil, we are just pitiful lambs waiting to be slaughtered. Grandmother, I finally understand the reason behind your sigh then. But a pity that it's already too late. No benevolence or evil, no love or hatred, these eyes that only see an animal waiting to be experimented on. Is this the shape of true evil? Before she lost her consciousness, the rising star of Morseblight City, the second daughter of the noble third family Irunide sighs for the final time. Chapter 16, Scheme. It was easy for those intruders, who have something wrong with their head, to die. After all, only 3 of them were left when they barely reached the entrance of my home. But, the difficult part of resolving the issue afterwards is on me. Thanks to Elisa's help, the sound of those safe goblin machinery's explosions reached the heavens. Especially on such a silent night, even those from 3 streets away could hear it. Before, this was said to be a haunted house, but now, its infamy is going to spread further. Completely within my expectation, upon realizing that the location of the reported case is the living quarters of the poisonous tumor, the town security army immediately woke up all their sleeping sisters and sent an impressive formation of 30 elite knights. Led by a legend rank holy knight, The formation consists of 30 holy knights of at least silver rank. This is already sufficient to challenge a dragon. Are they here to save someone or making use of this opportunity to get rid of the poisonous tumor who is affecting the city's climate? It is obvious to see with one look. That Lich bastard, we always lack evidence to prosecute him. This time, Yawn will lead Team A to conduct the rescue mission while I will lead Team B to conduct the raid. Hee. I don't understand why the Hall of Enforcement is always siding with him, but I don't believe that the Lich don't have a single band good. If we succeed in the raid this time, as the captain, I will treat you all to drinks. Oh, get rid of him. For our classic magazines in our storage room. That got exploded. Hee, let's first tie him up and hang him in the sky. Then, spin him until he vomits and afterwards, send him flying straight to the wall with a spirit horse. Sisters, the time for revenge have come. For Momo's little bear. For my dowry. Knights, charge. Attack. From these passionate roars, it can be seen that someone did not neglect doing good deeds in his pastime. The depth of hatred isn't normal. The Lich with a loose screw may not have any major crimes, but if we are talking about the mental turmoil the town security suffer from his pranks, even all of the criminals added up together don't equal to a half of his. If they manage to take him down this time, not only do they receive a bonus reward from the captain, but they can also pay him back for blowing up their base and all the different grudges from the past. Ever since they set off to apprehend the Lich, their morale was exceptionally high and they managed to run at speed surpassing that of riders. When the town security finally arrived at the scene, they, unexpectedly, found their head, the guard of steel, Xuidi, have already arrived. Furthermore, looking at the corpses on the floor, their faces turned pale white. Their grudge with the Lich went to the back of their mind. Dark elves? Why? The corpses are that of their brethren. Looking at the spider silk shadow hat that boosts one's movement speed in the shadow, the cat's sneakers which reduces the sound of footsteps, a dagger and knife with a green glow on its edge, even if we do not consider their terrible reputation. The reason why they are here is obvious at a glance. It is the standard equipment for venomous spider gang when on assassination missions. A second job, advanced assassin, requires the blessing of the Spider Queen. Only big families can afford to groom them. On the surface, just by being a dark elf can be considered a sin, and even in the underground world, many places choose to capture the dark elves first before investigation and questioning. Furthermore, they normally aren't wrong in their arrests. Of course, for demons and devils, you won't go wrong burning them before investigation. In this world, there are times when a race itself is seen as a representation of kindness or evil in the faction they belong to. In Sulphur Mountain City's case, they are considered to be eccentric for using the evil and chaotic dark elves as guards for the city. If it is just her brethren committing crimes, town security captain Diana is already used to it. Just punish them accordingly. But the shout from the back made her heart stop. It is Carlos from the 7th family. He came with a Morseblight diplomatic team. Morseblight City? Just thinking about the name of her hometown, Diana flashes a bitter smile. As an outcast that worships holy light, she doesn't have any good memories back in the territory of the Spider Queen. What should come will come. The Spider Queen never forgets her enemies, and there isn't the word forgiveness in the dictionary of dark elves. It is impossible for them to just let us go. As dark elves, even though they converted their faith to believe in the holy light, they never forgotten those underhanded methods. That is also why, to criminals, the Sulphur Mountain City Dark Elf Knight Squad was difficult to deal with. Arunite was planning to get rid of these traitors of the Spider Queen, but at the same time, the Dark Elf Knights were wary of these diplomatic ambassadors from their hometown. At the very least, tabs from the spies on the doorstep of the hotel which the diplomatic team was residing in never stopped. But obviously, they still underestimated these elites from their hometown. They managed to bypass the spies they sent out, and in the worst case scenario, the recent serial murder case was caused by them. Yo, isn't this Captain Diana? Haven't seen you in a while. As usual, this Lich was speaking nonsense. However, unlike usual days, the worried Diana didn't have the mood to find trouble with him. She was apprehensive of what was going to happen during daybreak when news that there are casualties from the diplomatic team come to light. Would Morseblight City, which never takes an insult lying, blame this incident on her and her sisters? Even if she neglects the response from hometown, The recent suspicious movements of the Dark Elves in the city have brought them great pressure, and now that those Dark Elves that tried infiltrating the Lich's living quarters are found dead at the scene, it is as good as them being caught in the act. While she expected such a thing to happen, what she was truly worried was when the citizens discovered that the true culprit behind the serial murderer case recently was Dark Elves. Then, based on her understanding of her brethren, it would be harder for them to gather evidence. If they are unable to resolve the case swiftly, the name of the town's security might take a blow. After all, before this incident, there were already a few big merchants murdered, and being unable to solve these cases, they were subjected to quite a bit of pressure by the populace. Diana, your luck isn't bad this time. Looks like the case of the murder of the merchants can be concluded. Concluded? That consecutive killings directed towards merchants? Hearing that, the Dark Elf Knights shakes violently, their faces full of surprise and disbelief. There is evidence? Diana found it difficult to believe in. Even though they suspected that the murderer is those fellows from the diplomatic team, but Dark Elves rarely leave concrete evidence behind. Furthermore, as a law enforcer of Sulphur Mountain City, they cannot lay their hands on suspects without evidence, especially towards ambassadors, thus they were severely limited to simply surveillance. Yeah, this fellow actually brought the hit list with him. This time, we have concrete evidence. We can take this chance to send a letter of protest to Morsblight City. At this instant, the solemn large block of metal was extremely overjoyed, a rarely seen sight. Well, I guess that is to be expected. As the head of the Hall of Enforcement, being unable to resolve the case of the serial murders, the pressure he feels is probably even greater than mine. Right, the Barr brothers are still under custody? Barr? That pair of explosive-obsessed maniacs. Oh, that pair of green-skin ticking time bomb. To save money, they actually chose to use RDX, a type of highly volatile explosive used for blowing up mountains, as the power source of the machinery. It was impossible for that thing to not explode. They are still insisting that they are innocent, that it is a secret recipe passed down by their ancestors and definitely safe. They are unwilling to pay bail and fine, so we are currently collecting evidence to launch a complaint, sue them for the creation of dangerous and inferior good. But, we still can't find any evidence because all their products that exploded. There is evidence now. Look at these Dark Elves and those broken machinery pieces. Don't you find that their cause of death is quite familiar? Xuidi, despite looking so honest on the outside, you sell your friends without a hint of hesitation. Hearing that Taran law enforcer talking excitedly, I couldn't help but draw a cross for the Barr brothers in my heart and pray for them. Then, without hesitation, I joined the Betrayer Club. Lord, it is all the fault of those greedy goblins. Just a while ago, my maid went to the safe goblin machinations to purchase some furniture. But, all the furniture we bought ended up exploding. Fortunately, those kind-hearted people over there helped me to avoid a tragedy. Otherwise, the one dead one would definitely be me. Lord, you must redress my grievances. Dark Elves are good-hearted people. Isn't Lich's already dead? Can they die again? Besides, it would be weird if a walking trouble like you can die. Looking at how the corner of the eyes of these two law enforcers keep twitching, I can roughly guess what they are thinking. At least, their gaze speaks of, do you really take us for idiots, or are you an idiot yourself? Their lack of trust makes me unhappy, especially when I am restricted by the god equipment curse to be unable to lie. I really don't know about it, those Dark Elves really did help me ward off a calamity. Hey, if you don't start showing some trust, you better be careful of my complaints. I will secretly make your life difficult and send you all to the sulfur mine as watchguards. Cough cough, the destructive ability of the Barr brothers' machinations shouldn't be that great though? Finally recalling that such a gaze is rude, Diana turns her glance elsewhere and diverts the topic. Seeing the presence of her superior here, she understands that her plan to land the Lich in trouble has gone down the drain. However, she has once personally tried the might of the explosives, and it was highly improbable for the elites of Morsblight City to die to such unplanned small-scale explosions. It's this. Xuidi retrieves a silver fragment from the corpse's wounds. High purity holy silver beads. It seems that it has been embedded in the engine if the machinations such that once it explodes, the explosion provides kinetic energy to the beads, allowing it work like the rifles of the dwarf. The true murder weapon is these fragments. Looking at these holy silver fragments, my mouth began to twitch. Elisa, you really planned everything out well. Looks like it really isn't your handicraft. Did you offend the Bar brothers for them to plan to murder you? This time, I don't have to explain myself further. All the suspicions are washed off. Holy silver, a sacred object that was blessed by the Order gods, is deadly to demons and undead. Simply coming into contact with it can cause me devastating burns, and the damage goes straight to the soul. There was no way I could use it. Did I deserve this to go this far? I recall a memory a while ago, one where Lisa's hands were bandaged. She was never one so concerned with chores. It must be to install up these holy silver fragments. Even for a half-demon, touching these things must have been excruciating. To avoid dying for no apparent reason, I better pay 2 years of her wages first. Boom. Out of the blue, there were consecutive explosions and a large figure rushed out. Stop him. Who is that? Ah. How can they allow suspicious figures to get away at this point? The town security went up and surrounded the figure, but the response they got was a ferocious battle cry of a beast man. With a flash of silver, his gigantic blade slashes in all directions like a dancing dragon. With disbelief in everyone's eyes, the elite weapons wielded by everyone instantly broke. How is this possible? Ah! Be careful, there is something wrong with his weapon. Don't go head on with him. Kua kua kua. A crisp reverberation sounds. Under the large blade, the thick armor of the town security was cut through like thin paper. Wherever the shadow of the blade appears, cries of agony could be heard and blood splatters everywhere. Making use of the momentum, the frenzied beastman dashes out of the heavy encirclement. Voke, how could this be? It was no wonder that Diana was able to recognize this red-eyed half-beast man. In order to catch this brutal and cunning criminal then, the town security put in a lot of effort before succeeding. That can't be. How can he be so powerful? Half-elf half-beast man, a bronze rank assassin. Even with his both eyes red and his swollen muscles, as though he went into a berserker state exclusive to beastmen and barbarians, but as a bronze rank fighter, it was incredible that he was able to bash through a bunch of knights of silver rank and above. It is that blade. There's something wrong with that blade, don't touch it. The crowd quickly understood what was wrong. Even though everyone's weapons were quite bad, but in front of that giant blade with a dragon tattoo, it was just a matter of 1 or 2 slashes before it is cut into 2. Make way. A good weapon allows one to challenge another surpassing their rank, but the one here now is Diana. Not only is the difference in abilities great between the two, the sacred sword Silver Avenger was also an epic blade that isn't inferior to the dragon saber. Clang. The sword and the blade cross edges, but the unlucky Silver Avenger's was directly cut into 2. Cracks also started appearing on Voke's blade from the impact, and for a moment, Voke was defenseless. Diana sent him flying away with a fierce kick. Diana's usage of force was skillful so as to keep him alive for questioning. However, Voke was first tortured cruelly, next all of his energy was sapped from the frenzy. Then he was controlled by his sword before a legend rank knight finally sent a kick to his chest. After vomiting 2 mouthfuls of blood on the ground, he died instantly. When the holy knights finally found something amiss with the situation and decided to use the once-a-day usage of holy treatment to save him, Voke was already without a pulse. I need an explanation. Why is Voke, who should be at the Sulphur Mountain City's prison, here, and why did the Dark Elf assassins infiltrate this place? Saying that, she points the remaining half of her silver short sword at me. Looks like if she won't simply let this slide if she doesn't get her answer today. But I simply smiled. Everything was just as I expected. The fish is onto the bait. After a mutual glance with Xuiti, I remained silent. In the end, he stood up. It is like that. Actually, Roland and the legal system have some secret dealings. He is an expert in souls and an interrogation techniques master. If we meet a stubborn prisoner, we would ask him for a favor. These explanations are actually the truth. At least, it is the truth that Xuiti knows. Diana was already vaguely suspicious of how the legal system was too lenient on the Lich in front of her. It was weird that when she was chasing him that Lord Woomians appeared, and weird that the head of the Hall of Enforcement in here as well. Yeah, we are all one family. I can't lie, so this sentence is definitely the truth. In reality, I am saying that I am Woomians, but in the eyes of the Holy Knights, they think that I am confessing to the dealings with the legal system. In this instant, Diana reacted just as I anticipated, a look of realization. HMPH, no matter who's behind you, don't let me catch you committing crimes. Otherwise, no one can save you. Retreat. Before leaving, she threatens me menacingly in the presence of her superior. She really is the ideal example of a dumb knight, so innocent, so easy to make use of. Just as I was laughing at them while watching them taking the body along their team, I hear a familiar voice just beside my ear. The confession we just got out of Oak has been ascertained by the experimental subject known as Arunide. I have already copied 2 reports and sent it to Margaret and Lord Adam through the secret channel. However, my lord, wasting so much effort for just a show and even exposing your relationship with the legal system on the surface, is it worth it? Of course, it is worth it. To say the truth, I underestimated the psychotic killer. To think he had such an important secret in his hands. In order to calm down those who are on the verge of taking action, Voke has to die, and it must be in front of everyone else. This way, as long as the experimental subject surely escapes, the rumor of the diplomatic ambassadors escaping in the middle of the night will look authentic as well. After that, as long as our experimental subject reports the false news obediently, I doubt that they would suspect that their intelligence have been leaked. You played out such a show just to numb those fellows, even paying an epic weapon in the midst? That dragon saber? That is a useless good. The 1% chance of frenzy actually increases by 1% every second, which means that after 2 minutes, one would recognize no kin. It would be better to just give it out. Besides, I remember that there is someone in the town security who can use that saber, and aren't the town security my arms? Their strength is as good as my strength. Why do I feel that you are just cherishing them and protecting them by making the clues which they are investigating stop in their tracks so that they don't get involved and end up getting killed as a pawn? TL, cherishing, greater than the phrase the author used, is directed towards women and means that you sort of cherish them greatly, that you don't want anything to befall them. Ha, such wild imagination. I laughed and looked up to the sky. That isn't the case. This incident involves the other underground city lords, the malevolent elemental god, and that bunch of bastard traitors. The town security have great fighting prowess, but some things just require one to use their brains. They don't have good political skills, so if they get involved, they won't even fit being cannon fodder. It was difficult to create a Holy Light Knight squad, so to waste them just like that is a waste. I still intend to get them to do a few more years of hard work after all. While saying that, I started getting excited. An ancient malevolent god and an underground autarch. Looks like there's finally an enemy worthy of me going all out. Hee, maybe this is the sign that a new age is about to come. TL, autarch equals someone who has absolute power. Chapter 17, Truth and Reunion. The Whisper of the Demons is the name of the first prelude to Ike's Seven Hells. This future to come signals the start of the eternal war. With the assistance of the demons, the ancient elemental gods, subordinates of the goddess of chaos, who have fought in the ancient wars, gradually break away from their seals and bring the continent endless catastrophes. Following the awakening of the elemental gods, the fire elemental warlords, the wind elemental governors, the water elemental monarch, and similar elemental beasts gradually become the first boss class opponents of the gamers. Not long later, sensing the arrival of a new order, the ambitious and idealists start to make their move. Among them, the most dangerous of all are those who hope to create an independent country, the cultists who welcome the descent of the malevolent gods, the underground lords who hopes to return back to the surface gloriously, and the undead kingdoms who crave for slaughter and destruction. Of course, the word prelude is a hint that these troublesome things mostly have the shadows of demons behind it. As the elemental gods descend one by one, even if it isn't their real body but their manifestations, the elemental tide will gradually befall, and the might of elemental magic becomes even more powerful, and the advancement to become an expert becomes easier. TL, although I use the word manifestation, it is actually a split body of them. The continent of Ike will finally reach a magic era where liches are everywhere and legends are like dogs. Under the elemental tide, the Ike continent and other dimensions become more connected, causing travel between dimensions to be easier, resulting in frequent arrivals of foreign guests. As the young generations on the surface are heading towards prosperity and the countries are positive about their future and even harboring ambitious thoughts of expanding their land, they didn't expect that it was a ploy of the demons and the malevolent gods of chaos. As the magic tide arrives and open the doors between dimension, especially the one to the abyss, swarms of demons would swarm to the mortal world. But before that, the world would have to survive through the waves of undead calamity. The alliance among the underground lords to invade the surface should be a content of the next installment, The Vulture of War, which is supposed to be around 10 years from now. It is still a bit too early for it, but if we were to think about it, it is to be expected. After all, the underground world is still extremely chaotic now, and even if the underground autarchs were to reorganize the proud and aloof underground lords, it would take massive amount of time. Now should be the period in which they reorganize their troops and destroy the nonconformists. The Sulphur Mountain city which we reside in is an obvious obstacle in their path, or rather, we shouldn't use such a description to describe to a human on these underground autarchs. The phrase the author used means that we were blocking a human's path literally, though it shouldn't be taken literally. It is said that the blood-related daughter of the Spider Queen, the High Priestess Kaja.Lorsai, has united all of the Dark Elves, and their targets are the Surface Elves. The Dragon Empress Mali, the leader of Red Dragons and Black Dragons, the accepted king of the Dragon tribe by 7 dragon cities of the underground. Their goal is to return to the surface and, if possible, get revenge on the dragon god Bahamut who exiled them. Ainsterna.edu, Black Mage. His race is arguably a human. His motives are unknown, his strength is unknown, but he has command over 50 underground cities. If we just look at the size of a regular army, he isn't inferior to any of the human kingdoms. He has superb ability in conducting warfare and is the future High Commander of the Underground Alliance in name. Shu.Nuaya, a scorpion-tail lion beast man, the head of the Nuaya tribe and the elected sovereign of more than hundreds of underground beastmen. Although the beastmen tribes are full of internal strife, their aptitude towards fighting is astounding. The talents of underground beastmen is much stronger than those of the surface beastman. If we just look at the numbers of experts, they live up to the name Goldar like dogs. Legends are everywhere. Their motive, surprisingly, it isn't to exact revenge on the surface tribes but to return to the home of the beastman, the legendary Blanuya Plains. But now, the plains belong to a strong empire of the humans, Saint Antonio, and it serves as their granary. That is to say, if they were to fight, it would be a level of battle which nations and tribes get destroyed. As the authority these 4 possesses a tier higher than that of other underground lords, they are acknowledged as the underground autarchs. But everyone understands the story where 1 monk has water to drink, 2 monks fetch water to drink, 3 monks don't have water to drink. If there is only 1 underground autarch, they would have long unified the entire underground world and sent troops to invade the surface. But now, there are 4 underground autarchs that is keeping each other in check, causing the underground world to be even more chaotic. Meaning the monk fight for water, the autarchs fight for authority. This time, just as how the history on the game walkthrough records, the Black Mage Ainsterna and underground beastman Sovereign Shu, sensing the opportunities from the arrival of a new era, have formed an alliance, and they intend to send an invitation of Kaja and Mali, offering them great incentives to solidify the underground alliance. By gathering over 40% of the underground lords in the underground world, they would have created the greatest alliance army in history. But I know that things aren't that simple. From the history and the game walkthrough, there is a third party interfering at the back of the Beastmen and Black Mage. The figurehead behind the Black Mage is the cunning devils, and behind the Beastmen is the chaotic and bloodthirsty demons. Both of them intend to use them as a pocket to interfere and cause both of them to fall out. This is also the only way for the formation of the strong alliance army to fail. Of course, the Spider Queen Lorsai and the Black Dragons aren't innocent and kind people either. They are also furthering their own motives. My head hurts. This isn't a problem of quantity anymore. The signing of the Underground Alliance Pact and the formation of the Alliance Army should be something recent. Even if I have the heart to interfere, but I don't have the influence to alter the situation. The invasion of the Alliance army to the surface is already fixed in stone. Those pigs on the surface can enjoy the warm sunlight and clean night breeze without doing anything. In comparison, if we don't do anything, we can't even differentiate day from night. We can only use the cold lingering light of the luminescent algae, drink the underground water which has strong sulfuric taste, live in fear of earthquakes and stampedes, a life without day or night, a life that isn't even fit for dogs and pigs. Tell me, my brethren from the underground, do you all intend for your grandchildren and descendants to also live this kind of hellish lifestyle? We, the ones who have been exiled, why should we be inferior to others? Why do we have to bear the sins of our ancestors? Everyone should have the right to live under the sun. We are only getting back what that should belong to us. 3 years ago, this powerful inciting speech was shouted out by Ainsterna, and very soon, it spread to the entire underground world. Now, the invasion of the underground world back to the surface to enjoy true sunlight is the craving of every single life here. It is destined to make history. The underground world has no sun, but the ceiling of the rocks has many luminescent algae that provides some light. Even I don't intend to block such a strong tide with my weak arms. The underground alliance formed by countless underground cities cannot be stopped, but the internal betrayal in Sulphur Mountain City as a result of the movement cannot be spared. Councillor Welter, Councillor Kern. These foolish councillors, they actually intend to bypass Sulphur Mountain City's Internal Affairs Bureau and directly liaise with the other underground cities to form a pact and join in the future crusade to the surface. As the current city lord, Adam of Sulphur Mountain City is hailed as a hero by the humans on the surface, despite not knowing why he has decided to live here for the past 100 years. From the start, the big figures from the surface hero Adam and Saint Margaret is seen as an enemy by the Underground Alliance. Following the progress of the Alliance, the Dark Elf Onmur Splight City willingly served as the underling of the Spider Queen's supreme priest Kaja, while the Grey Dwarf and Underground Beastmen's Chrome City turned to the Beastmen Sovereign Shu. Sulphur Mountain City has been a pacifist all along, so it is impossible for them to wage a world war against the surface. Thus, from the start, Sulphur Mountain City has been a thorn in the eye for the Alliance. But not everyone is unambitious like us. At least, quite a few big figures in Sulphur Mountain City expressed interest in the land of the surface. Sulphur Mountain City might not have any nobles, but the surface and other underground cities have nobles. Thus, when the two cities started exerting pressure on those foolish councillors and offered them land on the surface, a portion of the self-interested people started formation factions, creating the Alliance faction. Coincidentally, Adam was intending to pass on the seat of the city lord, thus providing them a good opportunity. The diplomatic team that came to Sulphur City, on the surface, they were to talk over the terms of trade, something that no one took it for real, while in the shadows, their true motive was to help these councillors solidify their power. Those merchants who were assassinated, excluding those unlucky fellows who were used to pull wool over our eyes, most of them had a seat on the council. As the obstacles were routed one by one, the Alliance faction were gradually gaining traction. No one would be foolish to start a head-on conflict with the semi-god class Adam. What they are waiting for as they accumulate power is for a fault to happen in Sulphur Mountain City's inauguration of the new lord and an opportunity for them to stoke the flames of rebellion and take over as the new ruler. The Dark Elf Town security might be very efficient in dealing with criminals, but due to their birth identity, they are condemned to the suspicion by a portion of the citizens. If they are pulled into such a scheme, if the Alliance faction find them an obstacle to their motives, they might end up as fodder for this conflict. Just by pondering over it a bit, I can think of dozens of dirty ways to destroy them, such as to incite public woe by saying that they are the true culprits of the serial killings and they were only pushing the fault to the ambassador team. Then, they could force them to hand over the true culprit and motivate the public to stand against them, blame them for theft and blaspheming the holy light. Afterwards, they could bring in the judgment by the church and force them to their death. Or, if they retaliate with force, ho ho cough, I better rein myself in a little. Those counselors may not be as wise as me, but as experts in internal strife, they may not be able to think of a dozen, but one or two definitely isn't a problem. My reason for putting them out of the picture isn't because I cherish them, as Elisa said, but my instinctive ability to protect the weak. Right, just protecting the weak. Who would like those silly lasses who always interfere with my work, like I would care about their deaths. But they are now my underling's underling, they are a member of my Sulphur Mountain City's legal system, alive, a ghost, undead, of my Lord Yang-I dead. If they were to be killed for no apparent reason with so much grievances, isn't that throwing my face? Hearing the news that Elisa got out of Volk, it seems as though all of the problems were solved. However, I realized that there were still some things that weren't logical. Why are they so fixated on Sulphur Mountain City? This city, compared to the proportion of the entire underground world, isn't even more than a dot. I am unlike those boastful counselors that think that the sky would fall without me. Even without Sulphur Mountain City joining in the alliance, the Underground Alliance still retains the power to sweep the surface. I seem to have heard Volk saying that there is a very powerful magic thing sealed here, and the Dragon Empress seems to be very interested in it. She even put up a very high price for it. That's why he came here to try his luck. Bullshit, I have been here for more than 100 years. It is only a piece of barren land. What kind of strong magic thing would be sealed here? Suddenly, as I remembered something, I stopped in my tracks. A strong magic thing? Seal? It can't be so coincidental. Are they referring to me, Lord Yang-I? That shouldn't be. The news of me being here shouldn't have leaked. After all, my true identity is only known by Adam, Margaret and Little Red, and they aren't people who would leak secrets. No, there is someone with a loose mouth. That lad Adam dug a hole to trip me again? Propping up her gold-framed spectacles, Elisa seemingly nods her head bitterly, but I could tell that she was secretly laughing. A year ago, the councilors invited the city lord to a party, and on the party, there was the strongest beastman eviscerate beer. After drinking too much, the city lord spent 3 hours describing how he defeated the strong demon lord and that he sealed him in the depths of hell. He didn't specify which demon lord it is, and most of the councilors took it as a joke, but apparently, someone took it for real. Lord Yang-I, huh? I seem to have mumbled, but it is also a question just to see whether anyone would answer. It isn't Lord Yang-I. Based on the analysis of the Dragon Empress, the semi-god undead emperor isn't someone Adam could have dealt with then. Needless to mention sealing him. It was more probable that he just got sick of fighting and left the continent. The new test subject seems to have acknowledged her situation and took the initiative to hand over valuable news that I wasn't aware of. Furthermore, if Lord Yang-I was really sealed here, then it isn't a target that we could take control of. In the eyes of all living beings, he is a dangerous fellow that shouldn't be released. Looking for Lord Yang-I is just a false rumor that we created. Our true motive is the ancient fire elemental god Aroas. My lie detector ring also authenticated that it was the truth. Thinking of the unique traits of the fire element, realization struck me. This is Sulphur Mountain City. Just behind us lies the endless sulfur mountains. Anything like sulfur is easily found in the surroundings of a volcano. For such a large sulfur mountain to exist, it is obvious that it isn't a product of nature. In that game, all of the ancient elemental gods that descended were defeated and exiled in the long battles to come, but the only exception is the fire elemental god. Now that I think of it, it isn't that he didn't descend, but that the fire elemental was in the underground world from the start. After all, what kind of place would be more suited for a fire elemental to live in other than the Sulphur Mountains? Underground? Within the Sulphur Mountains? Yes, the councilors in the Alliance faction have already sold a portion of the rights to mine in the sulfur mines to us, and our Grey Dwarves have found some remains that is very possibly the altar heading to where the elemental god resides. Now, the few obstacles that remains is the leakage of news. We have to attain the rights to mine in the entire Sulphur Mountain. Those who are against the cell are also on the assassination list this time. The second is its guardian. The Dragon Empress guessed that Adam built this Sulphur Mountain city to keep watch on Arolas, and if we were to touch the seal, the guardian would definitely be alerted. But, against the semi-god Adam, we might not win even if the Dragon Empress were to go against him personally. I slapped my forehead. I feel the urge to cry, but no tears flowed out. Adam, you really are my nemesis. You tripped me 130 years ago and now you are tripping me again. If you didn't go around bragging, why would other people treat you as the guardian of the elemental god? They also wouldn't view this city as the thorn of their eyes. Now you even dragged me into this problem. Can't you keep your mouth shut properly and stop causing me so much trouble every day? If this is really the land where the elemental god was sealed, the demons could even interfere here personally. Then, I really have to start preparing. Closing my eyes and thinking deeply, many thoughts floated around my mind, and just as I vaguely felt like I was onto something, the door was suddenly bashed open. A reminiscent figure and voice made me instinctively lower my upper body and huddle together, but I was still a step late. "Hi, Uncle Bones. Long time no see, Annie has come today to play with you." Before flying out of the window, my final thoughts were the flash of pink, then a continuously rotating world in my sight, and the irrepressible wondering of my mind. She sure has grown. I could only fly 30 meters high then. Now, I can see the 300-meter high rock ceiling and luminescent algae. "Hey, Mother Vulture, you're here to hunt for food, I see. Today's weather isn't bad, huh?" Although I was flying so high up just as in the past, unexpectedly, I wasn't angry at all. The reason? While flying up in the sky, my brain kept rewinding the scene I just saw. The reason why my mind keeps popping up weird thoughts. Cough. It's pink color. I have to remind her that ladies shouldn't go around spreading their legs to kick other people, otherwise it is very easy for them to flash. Girls sure are mystical creatures, they change totally when they mature. To think that in such a short period of time, she turned from a little brat to a tall and elegant beauty. Yes, despite it being just 7 to 8 years, but in that instant, I saw clearly that the brat that used to stir trouble has grown into a cute young lady. A fleshy bum and beautiful curves, full of liveliness. The young and innocent face coupled with a good figure and good personality, she is my ideal type. Why don't I consider marriage after I revive? However, after rejecting Adam so many times, if I were to change my word now, isn't that a little shameful? Do I have such a thing as shame? Looks like I don't. Very quickly, I decided to test if Anne still remembers the Uncle Bones who dotes on her and often play with her, and her promise of marriage that I exchanged with a lollipop. But just as I enjoying my imagination, a bunch of uninvited my guests arrives. "Go away, you smelly bird. I am not your prey, I am the fearsome Lich. I am very scary, beware of my bite." A bunch of carnivorous vultures surrounds me. Bones seem to their favorite good. "Go away, smelly birds. I really will bite you." The touch of a Lich is scary. A Lich who only have its head remaining is also very powerful. Looks like before considering going through with the marriage, I have to first get rid of this bad habit of hers, teach her what can be kicked and what can't be kicked. Terminology may not be clear before, but the world of Ike consists of one main world, and also the biggest piece of land, the Ike continent, the abyss, where demons and devils roam, and other dimensions which can be considered to be part of Ike as well. Travel through different dimensions are normally difficult in normal times. The MC comes from a world that is not part of the world of Ike or any of their dimensions. Thus outside of the system, Goddess of Chaos refers particularly to Cynthia, while Gods of Chaos refers to the gods under Cynthia's faction. Chapter 18, The Little Red Dragon. On the mountains that were filled with the smell of sulfur, there is a gigantic cavern where a large beast seems to faking sleep. Graceful, beautiful, large and savage, these contradictory phrases fuse together perfectly in front of this beast whose size resembles a small hill. The sharp knife-like scales reflect a stream of light that mirrors the sun, and those shining silver claws are of the size of flagpoles. Its very existence is the incarnation of majesty, and its breath can bring about storm and lightning. Under the gaze of those mystical dragon eyes, it feels as though life is coming to an end. In this moment, this natural-born king narrows its eyes, as though as looking at something. Out of a sudden, it gives out a frightening roar. Ow ow ow. Following the gigantic beast's lightning-like roaring, the entire mountain shakes and innumerable demonic beasts escapes in response to the roar. The savage carnivorous demonic vultures escape frantically in all directions just like frightened sparrows. When the peak of the food chain, the true owner of this mountain, ancient red dragon Inmesus roar in anger, there is no living being that wouldn't feel fear. Even so, the content of the roar makes one speechless. Ah ha 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 ha, to think that you would have such a day. I'm about to die of laughter. The gigantic beast was actually hugging its stomach and starts rolling about. The entire cavern starts to tremor violently, as though it was going to collapse anytime soon. Shut up, little red. Yes, the person in front of her is me, Lich Roland. But right now, My situation isn't that good. Isn't this our wisest Lord Roland? Where's your body? Why is there only a head left of you? In front of the gigantic beast reminiscent of the mountains, there is a skeleton head which doesn't even reach the size of one of its scale. That's me. HMPH. I really don't want to bother with her, but the scorpion tail lion on the other side was reporting to its master about its acquisition. Oh. The scorpion tail lion's weird nasally voice was mixed in with some dragon language. I can't really make out what it is saying, but Nsmizius seems to getting more and more interested in its story. Oh, so you're saying that he was first fought over by a bunch of vultures, then the dogmans hit him down. Afterwards, the griffins stole him from the dogmans, and after witnessing it all, you all decided to rob the griffins. You all found him quite familiar, so you decided to gift him to me for me to enjoy? Roland, what an exciting adventure you had. I will share this with Adam and the rest. Ignoring this stupid dragon, I retain my silence. Yes, the bones of the Lich aren't that good to digest. With only my skull cap remaining, I enjoyed a tour about Sulphur Mountain City's food chain and went one level by one level up, finally ending up in the hands of Nsmizius, who was at the tip of the food chain. Of course, I have a way to directly recover by expending my mana, but if I wait until noon, my skeleton body will automatically reassemble itself under the effects of my spell. Thus, I didn't have any intention of wasting mana to forcefully reassemble myself, and this resulted in me enjoying a tour around Sulphur Mountain City's food chain. You're getting overjoyed too fast. Think about it, what would the reason for me being in this state? The red dragon used its gigantic claws to support its chin, putting out a position similar to a human thinking. In the beginning, she was still rather carefree, but very soon, she thought of a possibility and her body bends, causing her chin to knock violently on the floor, but it wasn't the time for her to care about the pain. It can't be. Don't tell me that that person is back? I nodded my head bitterly. Right, she's back. Furthermore, it is a leveled up version with a great boost in her specs. Look at how high I flew this time. Before I finished with my words, the gigantic dragon actually started bellowing. Quick, help me put up a not free for battle sign at the bottom of the hill. Just say that I went out to visit my friends. Right, where is the key to the safe? Throw it into the volcano. We mustn't let that brat into my treasure vault at any costs. Forget it, I am really leaving now. That day, the gigantic dragon remembered the times when terror being dominated by that rascal. The shame when her proud dragon scales were full of children drawings after an afternoon nap, the fear when her treasure vault was filled with water, the smell of fresh meat being mixed with sulfur and lava, the insult those shining golden coins were converted into worthless glass. Meow, I am not like those dumb lizards. You think that those shining glass can be exchanged for gold coins? Dream on. Woo you. I just want to make Auntie Little Red happy. Everyone says that Dragon Auntie likes shiny things. And is sorry. Don't hate Anne. Back then, facing the crying little girl and the resentment of her parents Adam and Margaret and Mayu made a little girl cry, kind of snickering. Even a gigantic dragon was unable to retain her dignity, and she could only give in and try to console Anne. Sister Dragon loves Anne the most. Anne, don't cry anymore. Be obedient, Anne. And I have some sweets for you. No, this is a god equipment. It is worth a lot of money. Here, I'll give it to you. You don't like it? Then try this one, the blessed winged armor. You can wear it when you grow older. From my experience, which could be seen by those vandalized precious books as evidence, the scariest part about rascals is not their ability to cause devastation, but rather it is when after they are finished with it, you, as the victim, still have to be the one to wrap up the disaster. If you were to reprimand them a little harsher and they cry, you even have to pay the price to console her. That time, Nsmizius paid a god equipment, a set of epic chainmail that she treasures, and 2 lollipops. Actually, I think the items in front are unneeded, just 2 lollipops would have been enough. Of course, I won't take the initiative to remind this dumb dragon. Right now, hearing that Annie has come back, she remembered the misery she suffered then, such that even the ancient red dragon dubbed as the disaster of Erin was forced to go into hiding. The attack of the rascals, even gigantic dragons would have to kneel before them. Don't panic, she is still in Sulphur Mountain City. I will inform her when she comes up to the mountains. But now, since we met, there are some things that I want to discuss with you. Discuss what? I have to move my treasure vault. I am busy. How about we talk about your mother? It was a rude question, but Little Red calms down quite a bit after hearing it. What do you mean? The self-proclaimed Dragon Empress Molly. What is with her? Yes, the ancient red dragon Inzmeus is the unfilial daughter of Dragon Empress Molly. She is the rebellious daughter who have been exiled by the underground dragon tribes, and just like every teenage girl who left home during their rebellious period, she has a lot of grudges against her mother and brethren. She has her eyes on Sulphur Mountain City, or more concisely, the god of the origin of fire sealed below here. Don't tell me that you have never noticed that there is a malevolent god sealed here. I have been wondering for a long time why it was so comfortable to sleep here, so warm, just like a hot pit. So it is because there is a hearth hiding below here. Alright, the red dragons and fire elementals like active mountains. To her, if there really is a fire elemental god sealed under the mountain, it is only a very comfortable source of heat. So, the present situation is a little bit troublesome now. The seal below your home is already their target. It is just a matter of time before the fellows from other underground cities organize an alliance army here. I'm sure you don't want to see your house becoming a mess and your treasure vault getting smashed and robbed after a nap. Furthermore, Annie is about to take over as Adam's successor. Even though she is a rascal, but she is a rascal that we brought up together. Now those fellows down there are about to make their move. Are you willing to see our child get bullied? Hearing this, a scarlet red glint of rage flashes across the dragon's eye. Following the killing will is a frightening pressure. As a tangible dragon pressure is exerted, the strong quasi-legend demonic beast scorpion-tailed lion was frightened to the point of huddling together. But, as the one directly in the face of the pressure, I smiled. I understand her. Little Red might laze around in her house a lot, but she definitely isn't a fool. Her spies have sent her a lot of intelligence. Also, her mouth might be a little harsh, but the one who dotes on Annie the most is still this dragon lass who is way past her marriage age but still single and flooding with maternal love. She views Annie as half a daughter, or else, why would a red dragon who is known to be greedy and selfish bear to give out a precious defensive god equipment? Now that I mentioned that Annie was going to be bullied, her killing will would naturally be directed towards those fools in Sulphur Mountain City who thinks that they seem to think that they can ascend the heavens. Stop with the crap, just say it. You have any plan. Just like how it normally is, you work your brains and I work my arms to destroy them. Hearing this, I laugh gleefully. Since Little Red was willing to become my fighter, my goal for coming here today have been half realized. As for the other half, I want to stage a show. A good show of an evil dragon invading a city. Now that I am done preparing the stage, what is left is my quest. Chapter 19, Change. Dang. The Big Ben in Sulphur Mountain City echoes through the sky, signaling that it is noon lunchtime. As the reassemble magic is triggered, after a bout of dizziness, I return back to my home where my body is. When my head returns to where it belongs, the first thing I did was to check my body. 1, 2, 3, 24. That's weird. Did the rascal change gender? To think that there isn't a single rib bone missing. When I was surprised over the fact that there isn't a single rib bone missing and was about to begin checking if any of my toe bones are missing, a voice filled with unhappiness could be heard from my back. TL, the author used a phrase ? Which means like faked unhappiness, something like acting cute, like when your lover teases you and you aren't really angry but acting angry, but can't find a word for it. Uncle Bone, I am already grown up. I will no longer anyhow touch the parts on a man's body. There is nothing wrong with the sentence, but why do I feel so awkward hearing it? Turning around, I see a red-haired teenage girl staring at me. Just as what I saw in a glance before, that young snotty brat has become a fine young lady now. Due to the unique training methods of those with the blood of the fire phoenix, she has similar traits with Adam. Long fire red hair that sways with the wind, slender long thighs that are straight as a compass. The originally circular face that were filled with baby fat has transformed into a sharp oval face. The only thing that remains unchanged was the innocence in her eyes and the mole under her red eye that added to her femininity. TL, compass as in the mathematical tool. Hey, humans really grow very fast. Just yesterday, you were still a rascal shouting kuma kuma, but now, you have become a fine lady. As my head turned around with a caca cracking sound, Annie's face, at the start, was still solemn, then a look of surprise before she burst into laughter. Crap, my image. Without a trace of emotion on my face, I tore away the note on my head. Then, I silently took the cloth Elisa was passing over and wiped away the turtle on my skull cap. Why? You can't comprehend what is going on? While waiting for the reassemble magic to trigger, I played 8 rounds? Of Mahjong with Little Red and accidentally lost 2 rounds. HMPH, I wasn't the loser. Little Red has it worse than me. Her entire body is filled with scribbles and now she doesn't even need makeup to pass off as a black dragon to go conduct robbery. TL, if I'm not wrong, one set of Mahjong consists of 4 rounds and a full Mahjong game consists of 4 set or 16 rounds. As for why didn't we use gold coins or our finances as bet and chose to just paste notes and draw turtles, it is because we are both magic experts and there isn't any bottom limit to our chastity. If we really put up something attractive as a bet, then this game which was used as a pastime would ultimately become a game of cheating or what was that? Supranational Mahjong Shoujo? TL. Shoujo, greater than young lady alright, seems I accidentally arrowed something. Let's just make it genius magic Mahjong teenager then. Sigh, nowadays, why is it so hard to just play a game of normal Mahjong? Annie giggles behind her hand. I know my face must look terrible now. After all, it is hard to see a lich with a turtle drawn on his head. Those Drakens who were called in to play with us also looked at us with the same surprised look. Is it very weird? Can the evil lich and the destructive red dragon not sit down together to play Mahjong as a pastime? As long as we know, that's not it. The red-haired young lady shakes her head. After spending some time traveling out there, the world has changed. After coming back, those people whom I was close with has become weird. They are always trying to get Annie to do this and that, their gestures are weird but they refuse to simply say it. Looking at those fake smiles, Annie feels so stressed out these days. But now, seeing that Auntie Little Red and Uncle Bones are still the same, I feel so relieved. Annie smiles, a smile that comes along with indescribable yearning and satisfaction. Looks like, this training tour this time has made this little princess of Sulphur Mountain City mature quite a bit. Yet, I broke the mood and knocks on the other party's head with my bones. Just how old are you? Don't speak like an elderly. Lamenting about life and remembering the past should be left to the elderly. Even I am still young. Also, I am fine with you calling me uncle but calling Little Red. Annie knows, when I see Auntie Little Red, I will call her sister Little Red. Otherwise, when everyone is gone, Auntie Little Red is going to hide in the rock walls and sob secretly. Her cries are super loud, we can even hear it clearly from the bottom of the mountain. She doesn't even realize that. How embarrassing. That's right, those overage unmarried young ladies are extremely sensitive. We should pity them, sympathize with them and love them. If you see Margaret, how should you call her? Sister Margaret. Annie knows. Right, remember to call her that in front of Adam. I said that while snickering. Annie is Adam's disciple and at the same time, her goddaughter. Despite knowing this, Margaret gave Annie her own surname Lade, which indubitably expresses a certain wish of hers. But, not to mention calling her mother, Annie has always been calling her sister, which results in Adam suddenly becoming a generation more senior than Margaret, causing her great distress. Of course, making her more distressed is also part of my duty. Remember, you must frequently praise Margaret for being young and beautiful and that an uncle like Adam isn't worthy of her. The prerequisite for a child being loose with their words is that there isn't anyone around to teach them. Lord, Teacher Margaret has left a message. If you continue to teach Annie these stuff, she will put in her weight as the head of internal affairs to deduct the funds you claim to be work allowance but used to purchase those limited edition classic books. I almost forget that I had Margaret's spy just by my side. I have always thought it was weird how a saint and a half-demon managed to get along so well, but my headmaid Elisa is indeed Margaret's disciple in name. Short hair, gold-rimmed glasses, expressionless and a venomous tongue, these are all unique traits of Margaret. Even her action of intentionally standing on high ground and giving me a look of despise with icy cold eyes while her right hand supports her gold-rimmed glasses was so similar to her. I couldn't help but sigh. Can you don't imitate Margaret so much? Recently you are becoming more and more like with that old spinster. Be careful that you might not be able to get married. To be able to be similar with teacher is my honor. Also, I will pass along your evaluation of teacher to her, just wait for your funds to get cut. Then, I will first cut the operation expenses of your observer so that you can experience the taste of being chased for wages by the spies under you. Feel free, then I will steal from the living quarters household expenses. You want to try experiencing a lifestyle where water supply and gas supply suddenly stops? You want to experience how is it like when all the candles suddenly go off deep in the night? You want to feel how it is when the toilet bowl suddenly explodes? Hey, this isn't related to the funds anymore. You are already plotting a murder to steal my fortunes. You evil maid. You black-hearted boss who owes your workers their wages. Pooh. Seeing the both of us bicker, the excited Danny laughs out. Sister Elisa is still the same as ever, I'm glad. The relationship between Sister Elisa and Uncle Bones is so close that it really makes one jealous. Our relationship isn't close. This time, Elisa and I, in a rarely seen coincidence, happened to say the same words at the same time. Annie played for a bit in my old quarters before leaving for home. As the future city lord who just finished her adventure outside, there is a lot of things that she still need to learn. Sitting by the window, I look how boisterous rascal jumping about before below has changed into a fine lady walking elegantly. I felt a little sentimental. She really changed a lot. Yeah, humans are indeed creatures with high tendency to change. Annie's changes upon growing up is huge, way beyond my expectations. Annie. Laid race, human job, LV60 warrior, LV18 sword saint total, LV78, fighting power evaluation, gold pinnacle, quasi legend. Yes, what I meant wasn't personality or figure, but her basic power. The current Annie, if I don't resort to my aces, I might not be able to beat her. Iron bloodline, copper body, iron dignity. For a normal human, every stage is a tough hurdle they spend their entire life trying to bypass. If a person reaches LV60 pinnacle of silver, if they want to take a step forward, they must undergo job advancement. This is the boundary between mortals and heroes. If they succeed, they receive a higher tier job and enters the stage of golden wheel, also what the world call expert. In the eyes of most people in the world, their impressions of gold rank experts are all a bunch of elderly. Annie is only 17 years old, and to reach silver rank at this age can already be said to be a genius by the view of the world. As for pinnacle of gold, Elisa is also pinnacle of gold, and even under the tutelage of two semi-god mage, me and Margaret, it still took her 100 years. The reason why it is named Golden Will is because gold rank experts are able to use their wills to twist the reality of the world, something beyond the means of mortals. When I was praised as the child of light, I reached gold rank when I was only 14, and this was because I had the augmentation of the power of holy light as a holy light, which makes crossing the boundary between different ranks easier. Back then, I was still far from the gold pinnacle, and yet, I was praised as the Holy Church's 1 in 300 years genius. Should I be astonished? As expected of the superhero who killed me in the original history. So, if back then I was known as a 1 in 300 years hard to come by genius, then should Annie be called the 1 in 500 years hard to come by genius? Somehow, I remember another man that was known as a genius and a hero. That year, the red-haired him stood with a face full of silliness in front of me. Big brother, your swordsmanship is really incredible, can you teach me? My name is Adam and I came from White Rock Village. My goal is to become a hero and marry Lisa as my wife, then brag to everyone back at the village. Right, I must also become a big property owner so that I can be like old Peter next door, who can simply collect rent, smoke weed every day while watching other people work. 100 years have passed, and from a countryside teenager, he completed half of his heroic dream. But a pity it is that the other half is destined to never be fulfilled. That silly boy then is still silly now, but just a few days ago, he told me that he had enough of living, that he misses home and hopes to die. What a pity, Adam. I shook my head. After years of getting along with him, I know that his determination will not waver. At this moment, I should abandon the excessive emotions and focus my attention on thinking rationally. Any growth is too fast, to the extent that it is inconceivable. Even though there is the help from the elemental tide as well, which makes going up the ranks easier, but even so, it wouldn't be that fast. No, Adamant was also quite outrageous. It might be the special trait of their inheritance. A life form like the phoenix grows stronger the closer they are to death. Before they burn themselves to death, they will pass on their power and experience to the next generation, helping them to improve by leaps and bounds. So that is to say, Adam's time is about to come, huh? Thinking about it, I should have expected it. That lad, if it wasn't the final straw, he wouldn't come to me seeking help. Somehow, I remember the days we spent adventuring 130 years ago. The Adam then was a dumbass, Margaret was still a rookie mage, Lisa was a national thief that couldn't even rival a rookie, and Little Red is our lucky object and hidden boss of our party. Rather than party leader, I am more like a nanny who is bringing rookies out to earn some experience. My main role is to resolve the mess they stir up. Every day was tiring, but at the same time, it was fun. Then, I should hasten my footsteps. Hopefully I can revive earlier then, at least, as the big brother from the mouth of that dumbass, I can use my original looks to send off that silly guy. The arrow on top, the reference to the supranational Mahjong Shoujo, refers to Saki. Quasi-legend means someone who has the power level of a legend, but not the special trait of the legend, the soul imprint, i.e. they could be considered a legend rank, but not really fulfilling all its criteria. Chapter 20, The Unassailable Man. Lord, I beg you to help me. I really don't have any other means. The elf in front of me had tear stains all over his face, both of his eyes were filled with natural charm, his green hair was smooth and beautiful and his lips were bright red. Just simply by looking at outer appearance, he is definitely a calamity level big beauty. TL, Chinese have a saying which beauties cause the fall of kingdoms, for example Yang Yuan, but right now, tears were flowing freely off his cheeks. Those two beautiful eyes looking at me were full of sincerity and adoration. In an instant, he dives into my embrace, but I quickly pull away the robe he was holding onto and takes a step back, pulling apart at distance. What happened? Don't forget, you're a lawyer and a man. Yes, the elf crying pitifully in front of me is the capable first-class defense attorney Crows. Of the Supreme Court. The male elves are naturally androgyny. Even more so, Crows is hailed as the top beauty of the legal system. People often suspect that he wrote the wrong gender on his work tag, and he even made history by being pulled into the female toilet by other people. He is also troubled by such circumstances and he tries to act more masculine in daily life. Other people wear the silver mask to symbolize the surrendering of one's individualism to be impartial, and as far as I know, Crows wears the mask even after work. In fact, he has some kind of obsession with collecting masks and making them. It is said that he has collected an entire cabinet of masks of the legal system. Those exquisite silver masks are made with handiwork unique to elves, the presence of intricate carvings, and he was willing to throw in mithril strips, pure gold, gems and different valuable goods into the mask. His dexterous hands are skilled to the extent that he was able to draw out Sulphur Mountain City's scenery onto the mask. But, masks are also a part of the uniform, so how can they be different from what others wear? So, to not affect his job, his carvings are small to the extent that it is indiscernible without a magnifying glass. In other words, all of his efforts are in vain and he carved it for nothing. Even so, he still sees them as his treasure and wipes them multiple times every day. He doesn't take off the mask even while bathing and sleeping. Why would he do that? Everyone knows it well in their mind, but no one is so silly as to point it out. In the past, these masks did indeed give this feminine defense attorney elf courage and dignity, and his innate nature to be meticulous helped him to gain a deep understanding of the law. His faith and love in the law earns him my respect, and in my eyes, ignoring his outer appearance, he is an extremely capable defense attorney, and it was the first time he removes his mask and sobs in front of me, asking for help. Calm down, Crows. Take a deep breath. What happened? Was Sulphur Mountain City jail raided and all of the criminals escaped? Crows shook his head vehemently and his tears splatter around, dampening my sleeves. There already are people pointing and gossiping about us. In order to prevent suspicion in my sexuality and not to become the top news of the rotten ladies of this foreign world, I quietly took a step back, widening the distance. TL, rotten ladies, greater than Fujoshi, same kanji characters, greater than mainly refer to girls who read yoi are the evil dragons coming to attack the city. Did you inform the city lord? He continues to shake his head. Looks that isn't it. Did the mnemonic beasts invade? I continue asking a few questions that would most likely be it, but he only continues to shake his head. Finally, after Crows manage to catch his breath, he starts talking. It is Beifeng, that perverted Draken Beifeng. Herald. He went too far. In this moment, the beauty wipes away his tears. Recalling that he was still in the courtroom, he tries his best to squeeze out a smile. A smile by a beauty after the rain. It could be said to like the ink lotus that charms all that catches sight of it. Hearing voices of shock and shrieks, I quietly take another step back, pulling apart our distance by 3 meters. TL? Direct translate, greater than ink lotus spread faints one charming life. Hard to translate it, and I can only roughly guess its meaning, but anyway, the main point is that it describes how beautiful he is in that instant. Then, listening to his narrative, I roughly got the hang of what happened. That Draken with a special hobby, after restriction of relationships surpassing friendly between humanoid life forms and non-humanoid life forms law. And the qualifications for the raising of pets? Measures which were directed at him were quickly passed, and his pets and lovers were taken away. Indeed, he took a severe blow, but very soon, he stood up again. He is no longer a beast hunter. He changed his job to a veterinarian that specializes in gynecology. Initially, this isn't much as well. The beast hunter has deep knowledge on animals, and treating pets is its expertise. Being a veterinarian is as though like his calling, coupled with his patience and passion. Despite starting work for just a week ago, his nursing techniques that were full of love had many good reviews. He even created the touch of love, a method of calming down animals. But I brought my family's little white to see the vet, but I ended up meeting this pervert. How is this pervert a vet? He was obviously using wretched methods to play with everyone's pets. He was even laughing at me gleefully while playing with my family's little whites there. Woo you, little white was so innocent, he even happily licked his fingers. I must kill him and avenge little white's shame. If I recall correctly, Little White is the pet dog he raises. Crows was crying very pitiful. Born as a druid wild elf, he feels deep repulsion against these kinds of unnatural actions. As a lawyer, Crows even defended him. Beifeng's actions were completely disregarding the law. Don't just look at how Crows was crying as though like a young lady acting cute. I don't doubt his will to kill Beifeng. TL. The acting cute don't have that kind of negative connotations as the English translation would have. From what I understand from his inflexibility, he will definitely come and confess to the crime, begging for death after committing it. In the worst case scenario, he could be here to resign as a lawyer, then committed double suicide with that pervert. I was a bit speechless. If I were to let a capable subordinate commit suicide over work for such a dishonorable reason, I really don't know how to deal with it. Thus, I spoke weakly to the people behind me. Don't just watch the show, help me invite the pervert here. This is the first time I am seeing an opponent that can disregard my laws. Yes, my lord. Yes, my lord, we will set off now. As expected, a dozen or so of them answered at the same time. They were indeed hiding at the corner of the wall to watch the joke. Crows finally recalls that it is a public spot and hurriedly stands up. But his eyes that are filled with anticipation and trust really makes one at a loss on how to respond to it. My office isn't very big. I face the pervert across my table, and for an instant, I am unsure of what to say. Do I have to erect a new law to prevent him from being a doctor? No, a law directed towards a crime is acceptable. But if I were to write a law that is directed towards a certain person, I will become a laughingstock. Also, changing the laws too often is a big taboo. This means that the original legislation is problematic, and this could negatively impact the dignity of the law in the judiciary. Directly kill the other party? Is it easy to achieve that? But the crime and the punishment handed down should be of equal scale. That is also the basic principle of the legal system. This lad may be a pervert, but that doesn't warrant his death. From a legal perspective, if we are unable to find evidence of his crime and judge him to capital punishment, it is a foolish act that undermines the existence of the entire legal system. Lock him up? I'm sorry, but he isn't guilty of anything. He is just fulfilling his responsibility as a pet gynecologist and calming those cute pets down meticulously. Some touch cannot be avoided. I'm guessing that would be how he would argue, and it is logical. We do not have evidence. I sat on my chair. This was the first time I felt so weak. We can't kill him or lock him up. So does this mean we can only continue watch him do such indecent things to those cute pets? Even the Alliance army of the Holy Church isn't as hard to deal with as this pervert. Bai Feng. Herald's eyes turned, as though he had made up a decision. My lord, can I return now? I still have work to do. A lot of pets are still queuing up waiting for my diagnosis. This lad may seem to be smiling honestly, but in reality, he was mocking me. Is the Supreme Court incredible? But you still can't do anything about me. Normal methods are suitable, but I am an expert at unorthodox method. Slander, rumor, frame and assassination. It is easy to kill you. Just as I was about go about the unorthodox way to get rid of the pervert in front of me, it was a voice beside my ear. Master, based on your plan, we need one person to infiltrate the jail. Isn't him very suited? Thus, I smiled and paid close attention the man in front of me. Why is it that no matter how I look, he seems like a pervert that should be sent to jail? Maybe he is suited for it. No mistake about that. After making up my mind, I raised two of my fingers up. Let's make a legal deal then. Just two things. If you accomplish them, I will make a pet owner license for you, so don't being a veterinarian. As long as you don't soil the climate of the city in public, you can do whatever you want at home. I will turn a blind eye to it. Yes, Bai Feng's hobby is only a sin if you see it from a moral side. As long as he doesn't do it publicly, negatively influence the society and trigger the crime of soiling the city's climate, he hasn't really touched my red line and I can still tolerate it barely. But looking at the disgusting gleeful smile on the person in front of me, I feel really nauseated. If I could, I really want to send a finger of death to kill him. I had to close my eyes to avoid seeing the glee on his crooked smile. It was only after a long time that I managed to calm my emotions and keep my killing intent in check. The first matter, apologize to Crows. It is that elf lawyer that you drove to tears. No matter what, he defended you in court before and yet you repay him with ingratitude. How is this acceptable? Yes, my lord. I will apologize to Miss Crows immediately. It is Mr. Predictably, a look of surprise appears on the dragon. I continued speaking. The second matter, go and commit a crime. I will throw you into Sulphur Mountain City Jail. There's something I need you to do for me inside. What? Raid the jail. When Bai Feng finally left and I finished working on the work that had piled up over this period of time, 4 to 5 hours have already passed and it was time for the moon to set. Standing by the window, I felt a little sentimental seeing the sight of prosperity outside. Sulphur Mountain City has been peaceful for too long. Too peaceful to the extent that some of them are overstepping their boundaries. Isn't this all thanks to your efforts? Are you self-praising? A venomous tongue as usual. But in this instant, I didn't have the mood to bicker with her. No. We should be thankful to Adam and Margaret. They were the ones to fought fiercely in the underground city, which was full of internal strife to protect the city. But apparently, some people have already forgot the grace they were bestowed with and it is time to remind them of it. Elise nods her head. Traitors cannot be forgiven. Actually, following the rules of underground cities, we can just get rid of them. This is also the view of most of Observer's top spies. This is Sulphur Mountain City where everyone is equal. There is no authoritarian might existing here. At least on the surface there isn't any. It was difficult for us to achieve peace, fine, peace on the surface, so we should cherish it more. Let's just work within the rules of Sulphur Mountain City. We need some accident to gather evidence on those traitors and let some people die accidentally. Yes. Once chaos is created, my spies will begin to collect evidence. As long as we are able to find conclusive evidence, it would be time for the Hall of Enforcement and Hall of Judgment to do their work. Have you finished preparing the trackers and magic tracking insignia? I don't want any criminals to really escape. Yes, I have finished preparing everything. The magic tracking insignia is already added into the drinking water of the prisoners and won't vanish for 3 months. More than enough time to capture them all back. The entire 3,600 members of our observer will participate in this mission. As long as the ones who break out is within 1,000 people, then there won't be a single innocent citizen getting hurt. then set the dogs out to bite then. Sulphur Mountain City has been too peaceful, and why should I be the one cutting away the rotten flesh personally? Letting the prisoners out to lure the snake out of its lair, it is a dangerous move. Back then when I was explaining the plan to the four heavenly kings, it spent me quite a bit of effort before I got their support for this movement. Yes, the observer will force the special criminals to a suitable location. Even if they do not head there, our internal spies will also bait them there. However, I am worried about whether that Bai Feng can successfully raid the jail. Don't underestimate him. Just look at this. Looking at the documents in front of her, even the emotionless Elisa gave out a shout of surprise. How can this be? A gold-rank beastman hunter? A beastmaster? Yes, this is an inborn advantage of those with long lifespans. As long as you live long enough, you will eventually become strong. A beastman hunter is also a natural beastmaster. His love for animals. Forget it, let's not talk about it. It's too disgusting. Look at this report again. Less than an hour after Target X entered the jail, all of his cellmates requested to change cells. There is even a person shouting, "Don't put me together with this pervert. If you don't change my cell, then I will die." At the same time, there is really a prisoner who had really bashed his head into the wall asking to be killed. This is really too exaggerated. Not just that, there is even a GG sound that is coming out from his cell. It should be him calling those mice to help him. I hope they are just helping him to raid the jail. I don't want to go down this train of thoughts. Somehow, the killing intent that took me so hard to suppress rages once again. Must we really do it? There are no secrets that can be kept forever. If we let the prisoners out and news were to spread, your reputation. Even if we manage to suppress the news, just the fact that the jail of the legal system was raided, a demotion, interrogation and punishment are something that can't be avoided. Even if Adam doesn't pass down any punishment, I will ask for it myself. After half a day, Elisa continues asking, "Is it worth it for you to suppress your reputation like that? If the reputation and prestige of a subordinate is higher than the highest leader, then it would be hard for the leader to do his job. Since I have decided to put Annie up as the city lord, then let's just go through it. Besides, a new generation of change is coming. It is a tide which no one is able to stop. In the change of era, what does this reputation of mine count as? Besides, you are thinking that maybe little Annie will be touched by your sacrifice and propose to you." My face was full of shock, but I heard the words that followed. "HMPH, propose to you? Ho ho, given her personality, she will only be angry at you, frustrated at you and ignores you. HMPH, it would be best if you ignore you the rest of your life." Looking at the red-faced half-demon lady was different from her expressionless face usually. I, as though cursed, said something taboo. "You are jealous that I treat Annie better than you?" After that, in an instant, the air in the office froze. Looking at how the redness on the venomous head made extended to her ears and the embarrassment in her eyes, I started praying for those collections of mine. Finished, I misspoke. She would definitely get revenge for it. How weird, she maintained the queer silence. Only half a day later did she squeeze out a sentence. "If I was really jealous, then you." Elisa's voice got quieter and quieter, the part behind was totally inaudible. "What?" Just as my mind was twirling to find some words or jokes to say to bring back the atmosphere, the door to my office was suddenly pushed out. Crows rushes in and the red-faced Lisa immediately disappears into the shadows. "My lord, something bad has happened. Sulphur Mountain City Jail has been raided. Why are you panicking? Isn't this part of the plan?" But this isn't part of our plan. That pervert hasn't started digging a pathway yet, but another sector has already been raided. Someone has invaded the jail. It is a true jail raid. The prisoners have all escaped. We are losing control of the situation. Pasha. This is the sound of me accidentally using too much force and breaking the armrest of the wooden chair. Following that, what that has lost control is a suffocating magic siphon. In the next second, the entire world was warped. Only two colors, black and white, retains of this colorful world. Elisa was driven out from the shadows and crows was sent flying by the magic power out of the door. Those bastards must be tired of living to actually cause trouble on my jurisdiction. Those blind bastards, I will slaughter you family. Alright, in this office, The gangster-like declaration would eventually become the polite and restrained Supreme Judge Lord Wu Mian's Black History.